Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Alchemizing Energy. Once again, I'm your host, DJ Genesis Detroit. And today we have a special guest. We're going to be talking about a werewolf encounter. I saw this young man on YouTube and he was going over his encounter and it sounded so interesting. I had never heard anything like it before. And I said, you know what? I want to bring him on my channel so that I have some questions. I also gonna bring Baba Yashabaya, and we have Yvette Fran. She's my co-host, and we're gonna be really getting into the crux of this stuff because I mean, where who encounters werewolves? So this is gonna be a special treat for the Alchemizing Energy family. Without further ado, I want to introduce Roy. How are you doing, Roy?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for asking. How you doing today?
I'm amazing. I'm amazing. So man, when I heard this story, I said, what? And then I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my goodness. And but then I also started to look deeper and I started to see more and more stories like this. Other people that have encountered such things like these cryptids, kind of like these werewolf type of things. And I really was like, wow, this is a whole thing. So if you can, could you go into what happened to you? How did you encounter this? What was the story? Let's go into the story of it all.
Well, you want me to start from what I think was the beginning, or once I arrived in Louisiana?
I would say
Um,
I mean, how you met the person, who you think, from the story on.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
So I had went to Louisiana with my aunt. I wasn't planning on staying any longer than a week. I just helped her drive down there and to unload the U-Haul. Got a tour of Louisiana, a small part of Louisiana, and I decided I didn't want to go back to Nebraska. So I talked with my aunt about it, and of course, we had a conversation about it. Well, ain't you supposed to be going to school this fall? I'm like, I can do that here. And she's like, well, you're going to have to get a job. Okay, no problem. I can do both of them. So I started looking for employment, and I got a job at Chess King. Um, some people, depending on your age range, may remember that store. They sold men's clothes, and we had a small women's section. But if you wanted to look like your famous musician, your favorite musician, Michael Jackson, Flock of Seagulls, uh, people like that, then you come to Chess King and put your outfit together. So I hadn't been there very long. Maybe, I'm sorry, I don't have my journal in front of me. So I'm going to say approximately 3 weeks. And I was actually changing out stock that day for a new line of women's blouses that had come in. And there's a bell above the door to let you know when people come in or when people go out. A lot of older shops have it, and that little ting ting ting. The bell went off, and I looked up, and there was a young lady coming in, absolutely gorgeous. I mean, to paraphrase, she had everything that Uncle John needed. That's the best way I could put it.
She had everything.
E-
She look,
Everything.
she was the one.
Um, but I didn't notice anything immediately. I guess I was kind of captivated by her just because of the way she looked, and she was put together. She was put together, but and of course she was beautiful. She was beautiful. The color of her skin, the way she styled her hair, and that sway of her hips. That well, I'm a young man at the time, so there are certain things we pay attention to other than other things. But she was a full package. And I looked at her and I was like, man, she is gorgeous. Now, of course, that's not to say that New Orleans isn't full of women like that or any other place in the world. But I've never been all over the world. I've been to Nebraska and Louisiana. So that's what I'm basing what I saw on her. So I looked at her And I was like, welcome to Chess King. Can I help you with anything? She said, no, just let me look around and I'll, if I need some help, I'll let you know. Okay. So I continued what I was doing, but every few seconds, because it wasn't minutes, it was seconds, I would glance over at her and she would be, looking at something and holding it out and, just shopping. And after maybe 5 minutes, I started thinking, man, I got to get to know her. I got to at least shoot my shot. Worst thing can happen, she just tell me no. So I started going through my head through pickup lines, and nothing seemed to fit her, if you understand what I mean. Because sometimes you come up with that one that works 90% of the time. Sometimes you come up with one and it's a swing and a miss. So I said, bunk all that. I'm just gonna go over and talk to her, which I did. Actually, she looked up at me and kind of gave me that look like, can you come here? And she was looking at some of the blouses I had just finished putting out. And I was like, yeah, how can I help you? And she said, do you have this in any other color? I said, yes, we have red, purple, orange, and I believe it was blue. I said, you want me to go grab some in the back? See, because I know that one she was holding was a small. She's like, yeah. I said, because you look like you about a medium. And she kind of looked at me like, how you know? And I'm looking at you, so I'm guessing basically. But I went in the back and I got four of those blouses and I came back out. I had them over my arm and she was looking at them. She's like, yeah, I like this orange one. He said, and I like the red one. I'm like, okay. So I hung those up and I asked her, uh, I did ask her her name, but I'm not going to ever say her name aloud again. I've done multiple podcasts and I'm not going to say her name. And the reason that I don't say that is because when you give evil a name, it carries a whole lot more weight and it could possibly give that evil more power over you. So I never say her name. I haven't done it in 5 years and I'm gonna continue down that path. But I asked her her name and she told me. I was like, oh, that's a pretty name. I was like, well, I'm new here. I really don't know that many people. You think that maybe you could show me around, or maybe you go out on a date with me? And she looked me up and down. Now, she just looked me up and down. I didn't get any kind of feeling from her on that. It's just that she looked me up and down like she was, well, like people do. You kind of gauge people. And we had actually started walking toward the counter. And she's like, yeah, I'll go out with you. Now, my manager had been helping another customer, but she had finished the transaction with them and she was standing at the counter watching. But I really wasn't focused on her. But also, I knew that I didn't want to say anything that could be taken as sexual harassment, even way back in '81. And plus, my boss is watching me, so I have to maintain uh, a certain level of decency. Not that I was, gonna say anything out of line to her because I didn't know her like that, and just to make sure that I stayed within the confines of being respectful, then that's what I did. So we get to the counter, and I said, "Okay, great. You're gonna go out on a date with me. That's step number one." So I was ringing her out. I said, "So how about Friday?" And she's like, "Yeah, yeah, Friday works." I'm like, okay. So I took the receipt and I turned it over and I slid it to her. I said, "Why don't you give me your telephone number, uh, and I'll call you in case I'm running late or I'll have to reschedule." And she said, "No, I can't do that." Now I had looked at her hands, make sure she wasn't wearing a ring, make sure she didn't have that light spot where a ring would be if somebody take their ring off. So I said, well, to myself, oh man, she got a boyfriend or she married or something. Or maybe she got a girlfriend. I don't know. But it's almost like she picked up on some wavelength or got inside my head because she looked me dead in the eye. She said, "No, I don't have no boyfriend. I'm not married." Hmm. Okay.
So
Okay.
she just answered your question that you were thinking in your head.
Yeah.
That's okay. Wow.
And I was like, I don't know if a look on my face gave away what I was thinking because I wasn't looking in the mirror, so I don't know what the look on my face was or would have been. But I didn't say anything. I just was like, okay. I said, well, give me your address. I'll come by and pick you up. She said, I can't give you my address either. And just for a split second, I started to pop just a little bit, but that wouldn't have got me anywhere. And I was like, well, you can't give me your phone number. You won't give me your address. How are we supposed to meet? She said, well, my mom won't let any men or boys come by the house to court me. Now, when she said that, I know what that means simply because having conversation with my grandparents, my grandmother would joke a little bit about when my dad was coming around to date my mom. And she would say, yeah, your mom and your daddy, your dad, he don't know nothing about courting, but I guess nobody taught him to do it. So
Right. Did she sound it? Did she say it in an English word? My mom and my father do not allow people to court me. Like
no,
it sound like
no,
something like an English
yeah,
person would
but
say. Huh?
if you go back and look at our culture for black people, back in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s, it was called courting. The young man would
Mhm.
show up at the house to visit a young lady, and sometimes they sit in the parlor. A lot of black folks didn't have parlor, so you sat on the porch on the chairs, and one of the parents would sit out there with you, not in between you, but they just be out there because you're not supposed to be by yourself with
Mhm.
a young man that you wasn't attached to. So it was called courting, but that's an old word for the 80s.
Right. Right.
Now,
I can imagine.
it wasn't unheard of for a parent, especially a dad. Little boy, I know what you after. Don't you bring your hindquarters around by my house. I know what's on your mind. My daughter
Mhm.
is off limits to you. But to hear courting, I said, okay, well, how are we supposed to meet then? And she said, there's a park about 2 blocks from my house. Why don't you meet me there at 7 o'clock on Friday? I said, okay, I'll do that. You gonna be there, right? She's like, no, the question is, are you gonna be there? I said, I will be there without a doubt. So I walked her to the door and I opened it for her. And because of the angle of the sun that was coming in the front, 2 big picture windows in the front of the store, when she turned, the sun hit her in her face, and I was looking her in her eyes because the whole conversation, except for twice, when I asked her about her getting her phone number and her address, she broke eye contact with me and kind of looked off to the right or she looked down and then she looked back up. But the rest of the time, we was looking each other in the eyes. Now we had fluorescent lighting in the store. Even then, it still wasn't that bright, but it was good enough for you to be able to see. But when she turned to look at me for a split second, I was looking at her and her eyes had gold flecks in them, but around the pupil there was a gold ring. But I guess because there had to be enough light in order for you to see it, you wouldn't have seen it in the store because I didn't notice that before, and it was just for a split second. And I said, "Man, you got some incredible eyes." And she kind of smiled a little bit. She said, "Thank you." I said, "No, I've never seen eyes like that before. Your eyes are incredible." I'm like, "Wow, I didn't see that when you was in the store." She's like, "I don't know." I said, "Okay." So she said, "Friday, right?" I said, "Friday, 7 o'clock. Matter of fact, I'm gonna show up a little bit early." She said, "Okay, I'll see you Friday." And turned
So
and
what
started
color
walking.
were her eyes? What color were her eyes? Were they like a
They
hazel or
were a mix of a hazel and green.
hmm?
I've seen eyes like that one other time. I actually took a screenshot of it and I shared it with somebody. Said this is what her eyes look like.
But I don't want to scare you, but my cousin's eyes. Look, take your
I was
glasses
gonna
off.
say my cousin. I have hazel and green.
Open, show
Are
the.
they?
Yeah, look at her eyes. Look at my cousin's eyes.
Hold on just a minute. I got to go get some wolf bane.
He's like, her eyes are
Yeah,
green.
you have pretty eyes. You have very pretty eyes. But
Yeah,
Thank you.
to
I
see
was
the
going
gold, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
hazel and green. You mean like she had a shimmer like how a cat does? Like when you see the cat in the light, it like because you could see like a shimmer like that, or no?
Think more along the lines of you remember the mood rings back in the day people
Mm-hmm.
sell and how they
Yep.
would change based on your emotion. It was
Yep.
kind of like that, but
Huh.
the light had to be right because her eyes looked to me like they was more hazel, but then I seen that
Mm-hmm.
green and it was just little gold flecks. It wasn't a whole bunch like it was sparking, just a few, maybe
Mm.
five, 5 to 7 in each eye. But I know I seen that because she was standing inches away from me.
Mm-hmm.
So she turned and started walking down the sidewalk. And well, being a man, I kind of craned my head out and watched that sway go down the sidewalk. And I said to myself, cha-ching, it's on and cracking. This is the hard part is done. She gonna meet me. I'm gonna take her out on a date, and I'm gonna see if I can actually incorporate her into my life full time. That's my plan. It wasn't just a meet and greet or a hit and run, nothing like that. There was a magnetism about her
Mm-hmm.
mm,
that I've never felt from any other woman. It just like you wanted to be around her, even that short time, but all the time. It just there was a magnetism about her. I don't think I can find the words to describe it, but it wasn't extremely strong, but it was strong enough for me to notice that attraction, that pull.
mm.
So when she left, I turned to go back to work, and my boss said, "You know what? You pretty smooth, Roy." And I said, "Excuse me?" She said, "You pretty smooth." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She said, "I listened to everything you said." I'm like, "I didn't say anything out of the norm, did I?" Said, "Did I do something wrong?" She's like, "No." She said, "But you were just you." And a lot of men, when they approach women, they got to come with pickup lines, being extremely flattering, or they try to seem real cool. She said, "You don't see that a lot." And I didn't realize she was paying that close attention, but I'm like, well, all I did was, talk to her. She said, "And that right there is what makes you smooth, because you just talked to her. You didn't try to do a whole lot to impress her. You just asked her, and you kind of had a, well, if she say no, I'm gonna leave it alone attitude." And I'm looking at my boss like, I'm not sure where you getting this from, but okay, thank you very much. And I went back to work. So after about maybe 7, 8 minutes, my boss said, "You know what?" I said, "What?" She's like, "You were supposed to close Friday." And I was like, oh man, I forgot about that. I said, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna
She
be late
was.
for the date.
It seemed like she was in your conversation, and
Well,
she
Right.
was supposed to be working.
wasn't nobody else in the store, so she was standing there at the counter, just
Nibby,
listening.
just
So,
nibby. That's all. That
Nibby.
sounds some nibby stuff. I
well,
mean, she knew. You know, you supposed to close on Friday. Come on, you supposed to
yeah,
be working, and I'm over here trying to get my little 2 cents in with some girl. Ain't that
yes,
crazy?
ma'am,
Go ahead,
yes, ma'am.
continue.
So when she said that, I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna miss it. I guess I'm gonna miss out. And she said, no, you just gonna owe me one. I said, so you gonna let me leave early? She said, yeah, you gonna owe me one. And I stood there and I looked at her and I took and I punched my fist into my hand like that. And she kind of looked at me like, dude, what? I was like, I didn't even ask her the name of the freaking park. And she said, don't worry about it. I know exactly where it is. I'll draw you a map.
How she
All
know the
right.
part?
Because she was listening to the conversation.
I was gonna say, or she was in cahoots with the girl. That's what it had to be.
I'll,
Because
I'll,
I mean, all the story that you told us, you ain't say nothing about the Pacific Park or anything.
well,
Something she had to
she
know that
told,
girl right off rip.
I'm gonna
Go
address
ahead.
that a little bit later on. I'm gonna address that a
Okay.
little bit later on.
Okay.
Um, so Thursday come, I'm in a good mood. Friday, can't wait for Friday. Friday comes and she let me leave at 6 o'clock, and I actually bought an outfit from the store to wear on a date. That way I wouldn't have to go
Mhm.
home and change. So I left, and I had purchased a car too, a 1978 copper and white Monte Carlo, and that was my baby. It was my
Mm.
second car I had, but and I didn't put any fancy wheels or anything like that on there. It just because of the color and the way it was, I got a lot of confidence. Man, that's a nice Monte Carlo you got. Thank you. I like it too. But that was
Mhm.
my baby. I made sure she was clean, and that was really hard living in Louisiana because it rained at the drop of a dime.
Mm.
Yeah, it might be sunny when you go to work, and by noon some clouds and rolled in, and I'm like, I can't believe I just wiped my car down this morning. Now I got to go out here lunch and do it again. I was a bit vain
Mm.
about my vehicle, so I left. I got the map from my boss, and I left. And the park is in Metairie, or it was in Metairie, about
Mhm.
22 miles away. So I'm driving down. I went to Tulane and Carrollton, hit the overpass, and got on Airline Highway, and it's a straight shot down to Metairie.
Mhm.
She gave me a couple of landmarks. One was a Winn Dixie grocery store. She said, if you go past that, you went too far. You're going to have to go down to the next light and turn around and come back. So, but I
Excuse
didn't.
me.
No. So
No, I just. Go ahead.
I made a left and turned down the street that the park was on. I pulled up to the curb. The park is not that big. It had, you can approximately fit, I'm gonna say 100 people in there. But if you put 100 people in there, you gonna be rubbing elbows. But it had a basketball court, 3 rows of bleachers, uh,
Mhm.
3 tier on one side, and a lot of parks in Louisiana have this metal roof or tin roof over it because it rains so
Mhm.
much, but you can stay outside and play, under the cover there. So I went sat down on the bleachers, and there was some guys playing. And was there was 3 pieces of playground equipment.
Mhm.
There was some people, some people had their kids up there. People sitting on the bleachers talking, and people was playing basketball. So I went and sat down away from everybody. I was sitting on the edge, and I looked at my watch. And I'm like,
Uh
okay,
huh.
it's about 6:50, 6:54, 6:56, but it wasn't 6:55. I know that. I wrote all this down in my journal. I actually should have went and got it out of the safe and had it, but that thing is pretty big, so you wouldn't have been able to see me at all with me holding it up going through it.
Mhm.
Uh, so I looked at my watch. I'm like, okay, I got time. So I started looking around, but I was looking more toward the entrance to the park because it had a chain link fence that went around it. So I'm looking more to the entrance that I came in than I am watching the basketball court. Now there were 6 guys that would have been the closest to me that were sitting on the bleachers.
Mhm.
And I seen them when I came in, but I didn't say nothing to anybody. I just sat down because I didn't know anybody there. And this one guy got up and he walked over to me and said, "Hey man, you wanna play basketball? We got next." And I looked at him and I looked down at what I had on, which was a button up short sleeve shirt, some shorts, and some sandals.
Mhm.
And I looked back at him. I said, "No, man, I ain't here to play basketball." He's like, "Oh, yeah?" I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "What you here for?" I said, "I'm here to meet somebody." He said, "Who's that?" I said, "When they show up, if you know them, then you'll know who I'm going to meet. I don't know you. I'm not about to put you in my business like that."
Right.
I just, this is a new state for me. So I'm getting a whole new different experience. But one thing I'm always gonna be is kind of cautious because you never know what somebody up to, even back in the '80s. So I told him that,
Oh
and I didn't say it
yeah.
with any type of attitude. I just like, well, when they get here, man, you see her. Um, if you know her, then you'll know who I'm waiting on. He said, "Oh, okay." He said, by the way, my name is Herman." I said, "What's up, Herman? My name is Stubb." And he said, "Where are you from, dude? You're not from Louisiana because I can't place your accent." And I looked at him and I'm like, "What the hell you mean you can't place my accent? It sounds like you got a mouthful of cotton when you talk." But
Mhm.
I laughed a little bit because, Louisiana has a different accent, but I've been told that I have a
Right.
country accent. So I'm
Mhm.
okay with it. But he was just like, "Well, where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Nebraska." He's like, "Nebraska? They got black people in Nebraska?" I said, "It's 5 left since I moved down here. So, but yet there's still black people in Nebraska." And he kind of laughed a little bit. So the other guys had started coming over to me. And they was kind
Mhm.
of standing in a semicircle and they introduced themselves and I answered all of them. My name is Stubb. "Well, man, you gonna play ball with us, man?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm waiting on somebody." "Who you waiting on?" Same response. "When she get here, if you know her, then you know who I'm waiting on." "Oh, all right, man." And back then, the word fall was famous. It was kind of like saying, "All right, homie." It'd be like, "All right, fall." Because a guy came in the store and he was calling me that the first time I heard it. But I thought he was
Mhm.
calling me a frog because of his accent. I'm like, "Dude, why you keep calling me frog?" He said, "No, bro, I'm saying fall." And he spelled it. I'm like, "What does that mean?" He said, "It's like homie or my friend." I'm like, "Oh, okay, okay." He's like, "You thought I was saying frog?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, your accent's so thick." But
Yeah, that's definitely down south because I never heard of fall. Like, what's
yeah,
up, fall?
I
yes,
didn't say it.
FALL.
Yeah, that's a down
That's from
south.
the '80s too. He said it was in the '80s. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
that.
that's
I'm surprised
That's
they wasn't
that's a
smoking
K.
crack in the parking lot in the thing. '80s. That's the crack era. I'm surprised they wasn't
Well,
putting
see,
crack in.
that's a K. Jones off down there in Cajun country.
Oh,
Thank you,
okay.
thank you,
Yeah,
Baba
you
Doo.
said
Thank
they
you.
don't. What you say they don't smoke it down there?
I don't know. She said I thought I heard her say I'm surprised they wasn't smoking crack
No,
down there. If
it
they,
was the '80s. That was
Yeah.
crack time. That was crack era. Yeah,
I didn't see
what
anybody
was it? New
doing
Jack
anything
City
like
down
that.
there.
Yeah,
Mm,
you didn't
they hadn't got
indulge.
that far down at that time, but they was definitely into the gunji and stuff because of the Rasta influence in New Orleans and in that area.
yes,
Hmm.
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. There was a lot of gunplay going on then.
So
Thank
you
God I
have
was
to be
never
careful
involved
at
in it.
first and stuff like that. But they actually ended up being pretty cool guys, right?
Yeah, I didn't sense that they were up to any good, but of
Mhm.
course, let me add this: actors are not just in Hollywood. People act every day. For
Oh
instance, a
yeah.
saying comes out with, "You act like you like me, but I caught you with another girl. You act like you would like my cooking, but every time I make something, You just talking about I'm not hungry or love that chicken from Popeyes.
Or you
You act
tasting
like
it
you
and spitting it out,
right.
huh?
You act
On
like
the look.
why you act like you was gonna take me shopping when you know you was broke. People
Right.
act all the time. You just people don't look at it in that fashion. But they act all the time. That's how you somebody can fool somebody and have an affair on them for 10, 12 years. And the other person is like they have no clue until one day the other party decides to reach out and let the wife or husband know, hey, this what been going on, or they get caught,
So you sat out
or
there
Hmm.
and you waited for this young lady for how long until you figured out
an
she wasn't
hour
for a whole hour and she
or
she
an
never
hour.
showed. And
So you
finally you
No,
got
were
I
there at 7. You got
yes.
there at 7, and then she came at 8. So let's move on. Let's see what's going
No,
on. I can't wait to hear
I
it now.
I check my watch. I check my watch every 15, 14, 15, 16 minutes. And I'm like, when about 7:44, I'm like, I done drove all the way out here and she ain't showed up. I got this cologne on. These mosquitoes is trying to just drain me dry. I'm like, man, all she had to do was say no. And I was starting to get a little irritated because I'm like, all she had to do was say no. You didn't have to
Hmm.
have me drive all the way out here and then not show up. But 8 o'clock came and I got up. I'm like, okay, I'm about to go down in the French quarters and find me something to do. Just give me something to eat, maybe going to
Hmm.
a bar or just get me a hurricane or something and just walk around the French quarters. So I was getting ready
Hmm.
to leave and Herman said, hey, Stubb. I turned, I'm like, what's up, man? He's like, I guess you got stood up, huh? I said, it looks that way. I said, I'll see y'all another time, man. And he was like, well, wait. I'm like, what? He said, well, see, she didn't show up. You here. You might as well play basketball with us. And I stood there for a couple of minutes and looked at him. I said, you know what? I'm going to do that. Now, I've been fishing since I was 9 years old. So I
Hmm.
always keep a fishing pole and a small tackle box in the trunk, but I also keep a change of clothes and some tennis shoes in there because I never know where I'm be
Right.
at. And I see of some water that's like I need to drop a line there, see what's swimming. So I said, hold on
Hmm.
a minute, man, let me change clothes. So I got my stuff out of the trunk. I put my wallet and my watch. No, I had my watch on. I put my wallet in the trunk with my clothes. Went in the bathroom and changed clothes.
Hmm.
Um, then I came out. I played basketball with them dudes until midnight. Now,
Hmm.
the parks in New Orleans or Louisiana, I would say, Monday through Thursday, the lights stay on in the park until 9 o'clock. On
Hmm.
Friday and Saturdays, they stay on until midnight. And Sundays, they never cut them on.
Hmm.
So we had light in the park to play. I played with them. I played against some of them, depending on if we won or lost. But I, got a good look at each and every one of them up close, either from guarding them, passing them the ball. We standing around a huddle talking about we need to do better because we ain't trying to get blowed out, just stuff like that. But they just seemed like regular dudes, and they weren't any more than 2 years older than me.
Hmm.
So I didn't get a feeling that anything was off, that they was acting like they like me to set me up for something later on.
Right.
So the light shut off and we called the game because it's the only light coming to park is from the street lights coming in from the street. So I've been drinking that hot faucet water at the park. I wanted a beer, a cold beer. And I said, hey,
Hmm.
where's the closest liquor store at, man? I want to go get me a beer. And Diamond said, well, we putting our chains together right now to go and get some, man. Why don't you just come and go with us? Now, at this point is when I made a decision that changed my life because I could have easily have put them six sweaty, slightly fragrant dudes in my Monte Carlo and we could have drove to the liquor store. But because of my vanity, I'm not putting y'all in my baby. I'm gonna have to shampoo and everything the next day to get all of that sweat, and I done dried up into my velour seat. So I'm like, all right, I'll just go with y'all. I'm like, dude, I got $5 on a beer. How much y'all short? Okay, we
Mhm.
straight now because they over there trying to count change in the dark, and time is going by, and the liquor stores back then closed at 1 o'clock.
Mhm.
So they said, okay, man, let's go. Now I was approximately 12:30, 12:33 when we exited the park because I checked my
Mhm.
watch, but I wrote it down the exact time in my journal. So I'm gonna give you time frames within 4 minutes of each other. So we walk out of the park and we head down the street going back toward Airline Highway, and we got maybe 3/4 of a block down the street, and the railroad tracks come across the street, and they run. I don't know my compass directions back then, but they were running to my right.
Mhm.
They turned off the street and started walking down the railroad tracks. And I
I would.
didn't
So you didn't
my
feel scared at any point just walking down the railroad tracks with complete strangers?
at this time I'm in prime football shape. I weigh
Okay.
225 pounds. I can bench press 300 pounds, and I can squat 500 pounds. I'm not scared of no man, woman, or child in any physical confrontation, even if it's six of them. Because if you should take me down, I'm gonna have company in hell. Because I'm
Right.
taking at least three of y'all with me.
Right.
So no, I was not afraid. I was
Mm,
not afraid. My father raised us like that. He's like, the only thing you need to be scared of is God, because He gonna
mm.
judge you in the end for everything you do.
So you said they took you to the railroad tracks, turned down, got out, and start walking.
No, we exited the
Oh,
park and started
okay.
walking down the street, and we were headed toward Airline Highway. When we got to the
Mhm.
railroad tracks, they started walking down the railroad tracks. It went to the
Okay.
right. So I looked and I'm like, okay, I don't know this neighborhood. I guess this is a shortcut. But
Mhm.
we weren't walking in a group when we got on the tracks. There was three in the front, two in the middle, and me and
Mhm.
Herman were bringing up the rear. But
Okay.
as you got further away from the street, it started getting dark. But there were three buildings to my left. There was a junkyard, a small one, a lumber yard next door, and a tire shop on the end. And behind each
Mhm.
one of them buildings in the middle was one street light with that yellow. I don't know if the lens was dirty that caused it to be yellow, or just from years of it being up there and exposed to the weather. It gave that yellow look. It wasn't like a
Right.
bright white, it was yellow color. So
Uh-huh.
there's enough distance in between each one of them street lights that when you exit from the circle of light, you go into an area of gloom that was dark enough that you could see a silhouette of a person, but you couldn't see any definitive features,
Mhm.
but you could see the outline of them. So we're walking down the tracks, and I'm looking around, and to my right is this big thistle field. And if you don't know what a thistle is, it starts out looking like a dandelion,
Mhm.
but it'll grow anywhere between 6 and 8 feet tall, and it's got a purple flower, one purple flower on the top, but it's got these thorns on the leaves. I call them hypodermic needles, because if they get big enough and you find yourself in them or just be messing with them and get stuck, you feel like you got hit with a needle.
Mhm.
Now, as you walking down the tracks, the sides fall away, so you kind of elevate it instead of how
Uh-huh.
flat they are when they go across the road.
Right.
So the sides fell away, and I'm looking at the thistles, and I'm like, man, it's black as heck over there. But if you look beyond the thistles, you can see houses, the backs of houses, and at certain places, you could see in between them and see that there was a porch light on here or a back porch light on the houses
Mhm.
that were the rear facing the thistle field. And it was a big field. It probably was about 150 yards. It was big. It was like, but they were so thick, they wasn't like gaps in there, just like somebody just took a handful of seeds and just kept throwing them out, and they just grew up together, just thick. So
Right.
I could barely see over the top of some of them because we're elevated on the railroad tracks. So we're walking, and I'm looking around, and he started talking to me, and which was fine, but his he started asking me about kids, and
Mhm.
at first I really didn't pay any attention to it. He's like, "Well, hey, Stubb," I'm like, "What's up, Herman?" He said, "You know how to change diapers?" I said, "Yeah," and I looked at him like, "Why?" He's like, "Is it easy to do?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's easy." He said, "Oh, okay." He said, well, how do you know when a baby is hungry?" I said, "If you put them on a feeding schedule and you try to stick to that, but they'll start squalling enough, they'll let you know when they're hungry." He's
Mhm.
like, "Oh, okay." He said, "Well, hey man," I'm like, and I
He
said,
froze.
"Yeah, I'm back now. I don't know what
Okay.
happened. I seen it was low, but he said, how you know when they sick?" I said, "Because they'll have a fever or they might be pooping a lot or throwing up." I'm like, "Why you ask me these questions about kids, man?" He said, "Oh, bruh, I'm sorry." He said, "Oh, fall, because my girl gonna have a baby in the next week or two, and um, he's like, man, I'm kind of scared." And I cocked my head and I looked at him. I'm like, "What you mean you scared?" He said, "Dude, I don't know nothing about no kids, and I don't want to be the kind of dad that my father was." I was like, "What kind of dad you had?" He said he wasn't a very good dude. He wasn't around too long. I said, "Okay."
Mhm.
I said, "First of all, I don't know why you scared now because the damage is done. She's pregnant and she's close to having a baby, so I don't know what you're scared of now. But
Mhm.
I understand your concerns about being a father, and now I'm not sure why I keep doing that. I got my Wi-Fi sitting right next to the phone, so I just gave him the best advice I could. I mean, I wasn't an expert at that time, and I'm still not an expert now, all these years later. But I just tried to give him the best information I could. If you don't want to
Mhm.
be like your, that's odd. That's
Is
never
the
happened
weather?
before.
Is the weather down there
Can you
crazy?
hear me?
Yep, I can
Yeah, we
hear
can hear
you.
you. We can
No,
hear you.
it's bright and sunny. I'm in Arizona. It's bright and sunny. I'm just I'm wondering
Oh.
what's going on, but I just told him, you know, uh, ask your mom, ask your grandma about changing diapers. You can go to the library and get books on parenthood. You know, you got uh, a lot of avenues you can take for information, man. But don't be scared
Mhm.
now. Don't be scared now. That will that'll throw you off course basically on what you're trying to do. I said now's the
Right.
time you should be happy because you're gonna get to see what you created. You're gonna see what comes between you and your girlfriend. So he's like, "Okay, man, thanks." And I stopped looking at him. Now we walking on these white rocks on the railroad track, so it be crunching. And I
Mhm.
started looking around again, and we're just coming out of that first light from the junkyard. And we entering that area of gloom. So I'm looking around, and Herman said, "What you looking for, man?" I'm like, "I ain't never been around here before, man. I'm just looking around." He's like, "Oh, well, there's a big black dog that stay in that junkyard, and sometime he get out." He said, I don't know if he half Rottweiler or half Labrador Retriever, but he's a big black dog. But every now and then he get out and he gonna run up on you barking and growling and just pick up a handful of rocks and throw them at him and start hollering. Now usually he'll run off. He's still gonna bark at you, but he'll go about his business. I said, "Oh, okay. Thank you for that." So we took maybe we was about 4 steps from coming into that second light,
Mhm.
and I was turning my head to the right, and I seen something come out of them thistles up onto the railroad tracks.
Mhm.
I guess my primordial instinct kicked in, and I'm getting ready to go. I mean, because I ran a 4.3 back then,
Mhm.
a 4.340. So when it come time to get out of town, I can go real quick.
Mhm.
And I just took off running. And the other dudes, you know how black folks do, or maybe it's just anybody, but they got videos of black folks do it. If a black dude person run up by you, you immediately start running the same direction they going and don't worry about looking
Mhm.
back.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
so that was what was going on. I only got about 2, 3 steps in, and Herman screamed, "Don't leave me." Now,
Herman fell.
well, I heard, I don't know if it tripped him or if he fell, but
Mhm.
I heard the sound of a body smacking rocks and slide. I
Mm.
didn't recognize it what it was at that time, but when I had time to sit and think about it, that's what I heard. But I heard the sound. I just wasn't making the connection between what I heard at that
Right.
time. But that
Mhm.
scream that he let out, I've never heard the inflection, I guess, or the panic or the fear or the terror
Mhm.
in somebody's voice before.
Yeah, there's
And
different type of screams out there. Yeah,
so,
that can be scary. Yeah, I understand that. You can hear a
so,
scream and it's like a scream you never heard before.
right, right. And I guess he screamed from his soul because it struck a chord in me, and I slid to a stop as I'm turning around because I'm thinking, oh, that was that dog that came out them thistles. I can't let this dude get mauled.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not no hero. I ain't got no cape. I ain't got no boots. I don't put on no tights. None of that. I'm just a regular dude, a teenager at that. But I've been bit by a dog before. So if I can save you, I'm not gonna let you get mauled by no dog, especially something that's half Rottweiler, because that's a big dog. So
Right.
I'm thinking that was that dog that came out of the thistles. And the other dudes was still running, but I guess they looked back and seen I had stopped because I slid to a stop. And when I was turning around, I bent down, I picked up 2 handfuls of rocks. And I got my
Mhm.
arm cocked like this, and I got my mouth open, I'm gonna fling these rocks. Hey, get out of here, get gone about
Mhm.
your business. And that didn't happen because what I seen on top of him,
Mhm.
if that was a dog, we talking world record. We talking world record size dog. Cause all I could see is the outline of it. But it
Mm.
made Herman look like he was a little kid because I seen the side of the head. I couldn't see the snout, of course, but I seen the side of the head and some ears
Uh-huh.
sticking up. And I'm like, that's a damn big dog.
Mhm.
That's a damn big dog. And I'm standing there looking like, man, that's a big dog. Is just what kept going through my head. And my arm came down to my side, and I guess my hand was relaxing, and the rock started falling on my hand, and the thing
Mhm.
looked up at me, and there was no eye glow or anything like that, but I could see that it had changed position because the ears went from being like this to kind of tilted back. And
Mm.
I'm looking like, what the hell is that? I mean, I'm scared, but I'm not really, done lost my mind scared because I don't know what I'm looking at.
Right.
And the other dudes, I could hear them coming back down the tracks, and I'm standing right in the middle of the railroad tracks, and I'm looking at this. and Herman was about 12 feet away from me because I'm under the
Mm-hmm.
light. And they started coming back, and this thing,
How tall do you think it was?
hold on just a minute. Hold on just a minute.
Okay.
I try to meditate before I go on anybody podcast, keep my balance, and I did
Mm-hmm.
it today, but for some reason, I was really thinking about Herman real hard last night. So forgive me.
Take your
I'm
time. Take your time. Take your
Mm-hmm.
time.
this thing like a lion when it's stalking something,
Mm.
but that slow creep forward, and then this hand comes out of that gloom into the light, and I'm talking about a hand like look like a human hand,
Mm-hmm.
thumb placement and everything, but it's 3 times the size of mine, and it got these 2.5, 3 inch claws on the end, and it's set down on the right rocks, and I'm like, what the hell is that?
Mm-hmm.
And the forearm, the part of the forearm that I seen is like, I mean, ridiculously big.
Mm.
And I'm standing there and I'm looking like, okay, wait a minute, wait a minute. Now the other dudes, I guess, can't see it at this point, but I could hear them talking, but it was like background noise because I'm focused on what I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm.
That head started coming forward where the eyes actually picked up the light. And when I seen the head, I was like, just a calm voice in my head said, I'm looking at an effing werewolf. Okay, that's what this is. But it was so calm in my head. And that's when they started hollering and screaming. What the F is that? Man, what the F? What the freak is that, dude? Look at that. Look at that monster. Look at it. Now,
It did. It
she,
didn't try to come for you.
no, she just crept forward and was looking, and I'm looking at it, but I'm looking at them claws and just following it up the arm, and then I get to the head, and then that other hand came forward, and she brought just like the 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 first quarter, maybe half of her body into the light,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just like I'm standing there looking, and I just peed on myself.
Mm. I would have too.
I mean, I was it. It was so much bigger than me, wider. That head
Mm.
had to be with the rough on the side. I'm gonna say her head had to be 20, 24 inches.
I couldn't even stand there and look at it. I probably would have
You're
seen
like
that thing
probably
and been
terrified and
gone.
frozen in space, probably frozen because you
I
dropped the rocks
know.
and everything. Like
Yep.
you was
But
like, ain't
My
no these
body,
rocks. Man,
my brain is telling me to run, and my
mm-hmm.
body is not listening. I was locked
Oh.
up, and I'm
Mm.
standing there looking at her, and she's looking at me, and then she did a sweep with her head, just a single motion, but there was a slight hiccup, like I see you, I see you, I see you, I see you, I see you. And
Uh-huh.
then she looked back at me. Now, Lil Bit had a fanny pack. I know
Mm-hmm.
because he put that on at the park when we got ready to leave. So I'm assuming at that time it was him. I didn't find out till we got to the liquor store, but somebody said, don't shoot it. And I'm thinking, Lord, please don't shoot it because I'm standing right here in the middle of these tracks between y'all, and I don't know what kind of marksman you are. Please don't
Mm-hmm.
shoot it. And when they said that, she looked past me. She didn't turn her head like that. She just cut her eyes and looked past me, and her ears laid back. And when a dog raised them jaws up and show his teeth without opening his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she did. Now I
Mm.
didn't know it was a female at this time because she's on all fours.
Mm-hmm.
Them teeth that them canines she had, African lion ain't got nothing on her. Not a
Mm.
thing. And every other tooth in her mouth that I seen was not a molar. It wasn't like dog teeth. It looked like if you ever seen a bear trap, how they interlock like that. All of her teeth were cutting teeth, like she was meant to eat nothing but meat.
Mm.
And I'm just standing there looking at her like, what the your mind can sometimes be your best friend or your worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Because my life actually flashed behind my eyes, but it was going
Mm.
bullet train fast. And at the same time, there's a mix of how am I going to get out of this? How am I going to get away? I'm getting ready to die. This
Mm-hmm.
thing is about to kill me and eat me. And they hollering and screaming. And she just stood there and was looking at us. But she was looking more at me than she was at them because I looked her dead in her eyes. Now, if you own a dog, have ever owned a dog, say you go to work and you come home.
Mm-hmm.
You open the door, going, your dog waiting on you. You can look at your dog and recognize that your dog knows who you are. It looks at you and it recognizes you.
Mm-hmm.
The look on that thing's face was that it knew me.
Mm.
I can't describe it any better than what I gave you about your dog recognizing you, but it looked at me like it knew me. I locked
But
eyes with it for a minute.
but how about your friend? Was he still on the ground?
Herman ain't moved. He had fallen and turned over on his back. This is the
Mm.
posture I'm going to describe that I seen when I got a chance to see him. Because I could
Mm-hmm.
not see him from where she was at. But he was on his back, propped up on his knees, with his head looking up like that. And
Oh
he was
wow.
not moving. He had not got up to try to run. He was not screaming. He was not moving.
Mm.
Now, I'm not thinking about Herman at this particular time because this thing is less than 8 feet away from me. But I know
Right.
with the length of her arm, all she had to do was reach out and she would have touched me.
Wow.
Well, maybe came forward one more step, but then reached out and she would have touched me. But she's
Eight
looking at
feet.
me,
Wow.
yeah, 8 feet, and she had the upper part of her body was in the light. So I got a good look at her.
Wow. Her
She was jet
wingspan.
black. She was so black it looked like it eat light,
Mm.
but she had splashes of gray on her. I don't know if that was the reflection from the light hitting her coat or
Mm-hmm.
if that was, part of her color, but it was just splashes, but there was no definite pattern, just like a splash here, a splash there. And her, she looked like she just come from the groomers. To come out of that thistle field and not have any debris on her, no leaves, no mud, nothing.
What's
That
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 picture?
That's a Rougarou, and that's what he's describing in Louisiana.
sweet, give me
Oh.
give me strength. Give me strength, Lord. Give
Oh
me strength.
wow.
That's called the
But
Rougarou.
It's called a
yeah,
Rougarou. Look up a Rougarou in
Rougarou.
Louisiana. Yeah,
So is a Rougarou a werewolf? What is a Rougarou?
look it up. It look that's what he saw.
He saw a Rougarou. A Rougarou. I
but
never
a
Look
heard.
it up.
whole lot bigger than that.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I
that's
have
what.
to
Let me look up.
Oh,
look at yeah, look up Rougarou because I want to
Yeah,
know too
I
because
never
I'm not
heard of
we're
no
not
Rougarou.
from there.
Yeah, that's something.
uh,
That's a Louisiana Rougarou. Roo.
um, so
Yep,
I
look it up.
I'm just looking at her coat. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
see, under different circumstances.
Okay.
I honestly say she would have been a beautiful specimen under different circumstances.
But how did you know it was her, that girl from the store? Just because she stared at you? Like,
Give me a few ticks and I'm gonna answer that
okay,
as I go on. That so
okay,
I'm gonna show this Rougarou thing because I've seen there's a few pictures of what a Rougarou looks like.
okay.
But yeah, you
when
have these things like this that are kind of, but they are found in Louisiana. There's a
mhm,
known Louisiana thing.
Mm.
yeah,
So Sugar said, "Yep, that's it." She said that's a Rougarou. That
uh,
so
And
apparently
it,
this is a well known thing in Louisiana. These Rougarou things.
oh
yes,
my,
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Some people call them loop gurus.
demons? They look like a demon.
Well,
Oh
what pact
my.
do you
It's,
All
make
right.
with the
they say
devil
it's
in
like
order
a
so that you can shapeshift?
yeah, like a
Yeah,
shape
and
shifter.
I was going to go there because you got shapeshifters, and that's what this thing. And this might be a standard size or larger. They come in all sizes, but they're called Ruger. I talked to a friend of mine. And I'm sorry for butting
Mm.
in from
No, no,
Medley.
you fine.
He said they were known around that area. It goes back to prior to French, before they came into this area.
Hmm.
A lot of things took place down in southern part of Louisiana, and this is what they were telling me about. It was some call it Rougarou, and there was a thing called Sidewalker or something like that. Uh,
Skinwalker.
huh?
Is it the same thing
Skin,
as a skinwalker?
Skinwalker, yeah. So it
Mm.
depends what
Yeah.
group you're dealing with. So that's what he encountered. If they remind you of Warwick, because that's what would come to mind, but this is what they were better known for and known as.
And they said, and you said it depends on what group you deal with. What
Right,
that
yeah, but
mean?
what, because in Louisiana you got a mix of Cajuns and French and all this and Haiti
Oh,
and
mm-hmm.
all this, so you don't know what comes across or been mixed, right? And you got many
Oh,
stories and folklore and things that comes out of this area. Uh, it's known for mystical, I don't want to say black magic, but it's known as a mystical area that happens in Louisiana, especially because of the Haitian influence that came in through the out of Haiti. There's a lady by the
mm,
name of Marie DeVoe. When she came, when
I
she
heard
was
of
there,
her.
okay, she was there with what's his name when they had fought the Haitian Revolution. She was there with them when that went down, and then she came to New Orleans, and she became recognized as one of the great top uh, priestess
Voodoo.
of
Mm-hmm.
Doom. Yeah, and matter of fact, they worship her to this day in downtown New Orleans. She got a pink sepulcher that they go and pray to and talk to her, and she got stores, botanicals there in
Mm,
down there. So not only that, but it's known where I am too because we had a lady up here. Her name was Mama Chain. She was known as riding a white horse and roaming the railroad tracks and things like that. But I'm gonna let Roy get back because I know that's all that he saw it and he said he started uh going through some emotional change because I guess he saw something. But yeah, Roy, it's back in your hand, man. I didn't want to take it over, but I know I talked to some friends of mine and they was one that brought me up about this particular animal, this thing here, and that they've encountered it down in around Metairie in that area. There's a place
Mm.
So,
called
so they say that Rougarou also is a curse. This is a cursed transformation. Some legends say that the Rougarou is a person cursed to
Well,
transform into the
you have
beast.
all kind of anecdotes and things why, but nobody really understands what. So we put our own spin on it. But I do know if you go down a place called what is it? Um, it's a place where they live. What was it? Where they grow sugar cane um down deep south Louisiana, and they've been found down there. What's that sugar company name? It's not Domino. What's the other big sugar company down in there? Uh,
Uh,
no,
uh,
it's the other
uh,
one.
uh,
One of the old.
CNH.
No, it's another one. It's older. That's down south. And they still live on plantations even to this day. They're down there. It's deep south. You go After leaving out of New Orleans, you hit that little strip and it goes way down at the bottom of the boot. Uh, Premier, Premier, Louisiana,
Okay.
way down the boot, way down the bottom of the boot. See, a lot of folks don't know this thing is deeper than people think. And yeah, I talked to some friends, and being a truck driver, I had to go down there one time. And I'm gonna tell you, it ain't no joke when it get dark, bro. You want to get out and down there. You want to get out and down there quick,
Yes.
fast, and hurry. Yeah, it's
Oh wow.
Called Premier, Louisiana, and it ain't on no map.
Oh
So what
man,
is that
that
like by
is.
New Orleans or like
It's
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 like by the
it's south.
bayou or
It is south of New Orleans, about 100 miles further down beyond New Orleans, and it's down deep
mm,
down in there. And
On the by the
oh
bottom of the boot.
yeah, down to the bottom of the boot. And
oh like where the swamps and all that is like
baby girl, they don't use money down. They use script. And a lot of the folks stays on the plantation, and they get everything from the general store. If whatever you want, you get script, and you go to the general store. You can buy your car, your clothes. You go to this store, and you get everything through this store, and it's owned by Premier Sugar Company.
and
Mm,
that's as of today. They
okay.
As
use
of
script.
today, as of today,
They
yeah,
don't use regular money. They
they
use
use
a
script.
different type of money.
It's called
Wow.
script.
You would never think in these days and times that would be changed.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Wow.
Yeah, this is they
Wow.
use script, and I
So
was
this,
shocked.
yeah, still to this day. And here's the thing,
Hmm.
is that
Thank
this
you for that
Lugru,
information, sir. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
learning one new thing every day. Thank you for that information.
yeah,
and that Lugru is a swamp creature, isn't it?
right.
Is it? Yeah, and it's like some like kind of curse or something. And Baba was talking about how it likes to scare things and stuff like that. It's like meant to place fear, right? Because didn't your friend?
Or
What happened to your friend? There's something that happened to your friend after that whole incident happened, right?
yeah,
You talk,
but
go
I let me finish first. I'll answer all the questions y'all asking as
Okay.
I recount. I'm not. I just don't want to jump around.
Okay.
Uh,
come on.
but and of course, I'll answer any questions that you have after I finish telling you this. But
Okay.
she was. She looked like she just came from a salon. Had been groomed, everything. Again, under different circumstances, I would say she was beautiful, but because of her demeanor and her size, that's what
Hmm.
just got me the most. Her size and the muscles. I I just knew I'm 110% sure I was gonna die. Now whether the rest of them join me, I had no idea. But that's what I mean. You could see the street that we walked down, but and there was houses with all of that yelling and screaming them dudes was doing. Seemed like
Nobody
somebody would
heard it.
looked out the back door. It just seemed like somebody would have, but that didn't happen. So she stood there looking, and after dude pointed that gun at her, she focused on him a short bit. And while that was going on, I started thinking, maybe I can make it to that fence because there's a fence that runs behind them buildings, that tall fence with the three strands of barbed wire at the top.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking, if I can make it to that fence and climb on top, I could jump off that fence and get to the back of that lumber store,
Hmm.
and I can just run across top and drop down right there and be on Airline Highway. Maybe I could flag somebody down, or maybe I just run my butt back up the street to my car. And I
Hmm.
was shifting my feet, so I'm thinking as much motion as I can get done to get pointed in that direction. Because when I gotta go lickety split.
Hmm.
She turned her head and looked right at me, dead in my eyes, and I did not hear a voice in my head that I can recall. But the look on her face conveyed to me, go ahead and run. Try it. Run. See how far you get. stood there and peed on myself again.
Mm.
And my heart started pounding so hard that for a few seconds, I couldn't even hear them dudes yelling anymore. I couldn't hear nothing. Now, she growled, but it wasn't real loud. It was low. I don't know if it hit me in my head and went down to my feet or hit me in my feet and went up to my head. But I felt it in my body. And I'm like, again, back to square one. You dead. Now, this wasn't a few seconds encounter. This took some minutes
Wow.
because when she was looking at me, she stopped folks. I mean, she would glance over at the dudes, but mainly she was looking at me. And I still looking at her in her eyes, and I'm got this feeling I know she know this thing know me. This I don't know why that is, but this thing know me, and I ain't never seen nothing like this in my life.
Mm.
But for some reason, you if you had a dog and they got fleas and they
Mhm.
might be sitting up next to you or just sitting up somewhere and you watching them, or they might be laying down and they make that real quick jerk and start biting at the base of their tail or on they haunches because they got fleas.
Mhm.
She flinched like that, but she didn't start chewing on her leg or by her. I don't know if she had a tail or not. I never seen one.
Mhm.
But there's just the flinch that she did, and she looked over in them thistles and she stood up. I didn't hear no snapping and popping like some people say dog men do. I didn't hear
Mhm.
no hip displacement, none of that. It was just a smooth whoop, and I'm looking at her go up, up, and up. And she turned her head and looked over in them thistles. And I turned my head and looked. I just took a quick glance, and it was six red lights over there in them thistles about 60 feet back. But they was
Mhm.
bright because it's black over there. They was bright. And I turned and looked back at her, and that's when I started looking at her body, and she had four breasts.
Mm.
She had a six pack, shoulders approximately 48 to 50 inches wide. She
Mm.
probably was pushing the scale with her mass at right around the 500-pound mark. Now, the reason I
Mm.
say that is I started playing football in the seventh grade,
Uh-huh.
on up through junior high, high school, and college. I done been in the locker room with some some freaks of humanity. Dude six
Mhm.
eight, 6'9", might be weighing 340 pounds, and she made them look small. But she was cut. Now her breasts, because I have shared this before, a lot of people seem to think that them was her pups. I've had dogs off and on in my life,
Mhm.
and some females that have had puppies. I know what happens, even with a human female. I know what happens when you have kids. You do not your breasts take on a different shape. They hang, especially if you breastfeed. She didn't have any of that. Her breasts looked like on a young human being, but they were, when she stood up, it wasn't no whole bunch of jiggling and stuff like that because for her size, I'm gonna say they was size appropriate. But it wasn't no whole
Mhm.
bunch of bouncing. It was just a slight little bloop bloop, and then that was it. So I didn't really look down below her knees because I honestly
Mhm.
didn't want to take my eyes off of that working part, them jaws.
Mhm.
But she was approximately 9 to 9.5 feet tall.
Dang.
She
That's
could have
tall.
dunked the she could have dunked the basketball standing flat foot and still would have had some room to spare in her arms. Her arms had to be about 5 feet long, but
Wow.
they were longer from the elbow to the wrist
Mhm.
than they were from the elbow to the shoulder. But her forearm was it was about that big,
Mm.
just her forearm. And I got a good look at her. She's right there in front of me.
Mhm.
and she brought more of herself in the light when she stood up, and then she slightly flexed her legs and jumped about 18 to 20 feet and landed back in them thistles and took off running toward them red lights. And you could
Mm.
see her path because she was going over them thistles so fast they would just lay down and pop back up. And when I looked again, the red lights was gone, but they were standing in a triangle formation, two on the front
Mhm.
and two to the left and two to the right. But the way the shape was is if you took a red reflector off a bicycle and got a black
Mhm.
magic marker and started in the center, coloring it in until you got about, I guess, about that much from the edge.
Mhm.
That's what I seen. So if they can dilate their pupils that freaking big, I don't know, but I'm gonna say the height for them was between 5'9" and 6 foot because they were on different levels. But
Mm.
if that had been a human being, them needles on them thistles would have been real freaking uncomfortable. Now I don't know if there was other ones of them because her eyes were not red. They were actually if you take a yellow full moon and a white full moon and you blend them,
Mhm.
that was the color of her eyes with that black pupil in there. And when she took off, I snapped out of my trance and I ran and grabbed Herman.
Mhm.
Dude, come on, get up. Let's go. What are you doing, dude? Herman had checked out. His face was blank, his eyes was glazed over. He had a little bit of drool running out of his mouth. And I'm trying to pull him up, pull him up, pull him up. And so Shorty Mac came up and got on the other side and we pulled him up. And I'm pulling them up and I'm trying to get them to get up. And I'm trying to get them to get up. And I'm trying to get them to get up. And I'm trying to get them to get up. And Shorty Mac came up and got on the other side and we pulled him up.
Uh-oh, it
Everybody
froze.
froze. I
Man,
was
it
gonna
ain't
say,
that far down. It ain't that far
Wait,
down.
hold on. You froze. You froze like so. We heard when you guys are pulling the Herman up, and it froze after that.
yep.
Yeah, when we got him on his feet, and he's still not standing up on his by his
Mhm.
own power. I got one arm around me, and Shorty Mac got his other arm around him, and I'm turning to go back toward the street, and they talking about no man, come on, we got to go down here to the liquor store so we can use the phone to call the police. I'm like, but wouldn't it be faster to go back this way? And they like, no, just come on, man, come on. So they started going that way, and at this time, my herd mentality done kicked in. I do not want to go anywhere in the dark by myself in an area that I do not know. So
Mhm.
we basically dragging Herman down the tracks, and you go down past that third light, and then there's maybe another 100 feet past it, and then there's a path going through the thistles, through the freaking thistles. That they had been going that way for years and actually wasn't no thistles growing. You could walk through that path uh, side by side without getting stuck because it was just dirt. But you come once you cross the thistles, about
Mhm.
75 feet of them, you come out and you right behind the liquor store. So we did that and we walked around the front. Now it's about 12, 12:54 is what time it
Mhm.
was when I looked at my watch. So that encounter lasted a little bit more than 10 minutes.
Mm.
So I got Herman and set him on his little lip outside right there by the big glass window. And I know Diamond and Little Bit went in the store. And I can't remember that other dude's name off the top of my head. He had a weird nickname, but he went in there too. When they all talking at once, telling the clerk, man, it's a monster. It's a monster on the railroad tracks. We just seen a monster, but they all talking at once. And this dude is a white dude, and he's looking at from one to the other like, what the hell is y'all talking about? So he let that go on for a couple minutes. He said, listen, I don't know what y'all been smoking. I don't know what y'all been snorting. I don't know what y'all been drinking. Make your selections and bring up here so I can ring you out. because I'm getting ready to
Mhm.
close. Come on, man, just let us use the phone. Let us use the phone. He was like, I ain't got no time for this. I don't know what y'all up to. So he's like, if you ain't gonna buy nothing, get out of the store, basically. So
Mhm.
they coming out of the store, and he locked he locked the door, and I actually because if I had to let Herman go, he would have face planted. It's like
Mhm.
he just didn't have no control on the body, and he still got this glassy look on his face. Now I'm looking more in the store than I am at Herman at this time. So I told Shorty Mac, here, hold Herman. Let me go see if I can talk to this dude. So I went up through
Mhm.
to the door and I'm tapping on the window. He looked up and I'm like, I'm doing like this. At least call the police, man. 'Cause I'm mouthing, call the police. And he just
Mhm.
did that, gone with that, gone with that. And he opened the register and took it out and he started counting the money out on thing. And he kind of looked up like that a bit. He's like, gone, dude. I'm like, ain't this nothing? So while this is happening, I hear Diamond say, what's this white stuff in Herman hair? What's this white stuff? And I walk back down there to him and I'm like, I'm kind of watch out. What you talking about? Now, I hung out with these dudes for now more than 4 hours.
Mhm.
But we've played basketball for a solid, I'm gonna say 3 hours and 55 minutes, minus the time it took me to go into the bathroom and change clothes. I
Mhm.
didn't guarded them. They were sitting next to me when we was waiting to get back on the court if we lost, and talking to them under the lights in the park. Herman's hair was all black.
Mm.
Now, dude is brushing at his head. Like, what is this? What's this white stuff in his hair? Now, of course, we walking on white rocks. He has fallen. I'm thinking that's just chalk from the rocks. So I walked up and I brushed his head myself. I even licked my thumb and running through his head. And I'm looking because it's not changing color. It was a white patch in his head about that big right here, right there on his head. And I even took my fingers because his hair wasn't real long, but I parted his hair and look, it went all the way down to his scalp.
You think that was from his nerves, though? Like
Well,
his hair just turned white. Like,
I know that has happened. Well, not, I don't know personally other than that event,
mhm.
but I do know based on my research, some people's hair will turn partially white, a part of it, or their whole head will turn white. But normally it's
Mhm.
behind a paranormal experience. So I don't know
That is
what that
something
was
like.
about, but now that's when we found out Herman has peed and pooped on himself.
Mm.
I can't blame him. I'm walking out
Mhm.
my Chuck Taylors is they wet and my shorts and my underwear, so I can't blame him. But now
Mhm.
I got to get back to my car. Now, while it didn't take that long coming down them tracks to get to the liquor store, it took us
Mhm.
almost 45 minutes to go the long way around to get back to the park because we got to drag Herman.
Mm. He
Everybody's
still was
talking.
out.
Yes, everybody's talking.
Mm. Mhm.
And every time we heard a sound that didn't sound like something you hear in everyday life, we would stop and kind of get in a partial circle.
Mhm.
And that's when I found out dude had a little snub nose 38 gun gonna shoot this thing. Yeah, okay, right. Yeah, that's like shooting there with a BB gun, dude. Because he had it in his fanny pack. So we stopping and we'll stand there for some minutes and listen and everybody looking and I'm like, but mostly I'm quiet because I just want to get to my car. I just need to get to my car. So we finally make it back to the park. We cut through the park and come out the other side that I came in, and Herman stayed right across the street. Once we walked into his yard, three of them ran up to the door. One of them is beating on the door The other one is ringing the freaking doorbell, and the other one then walk down to the window, and he's knocking on the window. It's after 1 o'clock in the morning. It's actually closer to 2 o'clock. His mom come to the door. Why the hell is y'all beating on my door like y'all the blankety blank police? And y'all lost y'all mind. And they all start talking at once. Something wrong with Herman. We seen a monster. This thing was on top of him. They all talking at once, and she's looking at him because they had known each other based on what Herman told me since they was like in kindergarten and first, second grade. They've been knowing each other that long. Like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. But she was not happy, and she had on her night clothes. But they all talking at once, and she's looking at him like the hell. But when somebody says something's wrong with Herman again, she's like, "What you mean? What's wrong with Herman? What's wrong with my baby?" And then she looks, and because I'm holding Herman by his shoulders, but he's sitting on the steps, well, the top step. But I'm holding because again, if I let him go, he just gonna and face plant. And she looked at me, and you could see on her face, like, who the hell are you? But she walked over, she's like, Herman, 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 answer me, baby. And then she grabbed him by the shoulder, and I turned him loose, and she grabbed him, put her hand on his face and turned him like that. Blank look. Wasn't no recognition, nothing like that. And she's like, oh my God, and stood up and let him go. And I grabbed his shirt to keep him from falling backwards. She's like, what y'all done did to my son? Don't nobody move. I'm going to call the police. Yeah, well, I don't know what. Y'all better tell me what y'all done done my son. And she turned and headed back in the house. When she said that, I eased Herman back down on that porch, on his back so he wouldn't fall. And I turned and I walked out of her yard and I ran to my car. There was three people sitting on the porch, two houses up, and I heard the chick say when I was running by, what is he running from? Because they was looking down at, of course, all the noise that was being made, they was looking down at Herman house. And right there in front of God and everybody, I popped that trunk, I stripped out of them wet shoes and them wet underwear and them shorts and put on my other shorts, and I jumped in the car. And when I pulled away from the curb, my tires were spinning. I didn't even stop for the stop sign to get on the airline highway. I almost hit a car and almost got hit by a car because I just came straight out and I punched it going back down airline highway. Now, the reason that I left like that is because I had bought a 357 Magnum shortly before I came down to New Orleans, but I bought it from a dude on the street. And I asked him, what you use this gun for? And he said protection. All right. I'm like $100. He said, yeah, I'll here your $100. I don't know if that was the truth, but I've had enough dealings with the police in Nebraska to know that if you get caught and you got a firearm or a weapon that they can prove was used in any kind of crime, 9/10 of the law is possession. And based on Herman's condition, the cops show up, they not gonna believe we just seen a werewolf. They gonna think that we gave him some, or we all done partook of some kind of drug, whether it be hallucinogenic or some glue or something, and he done had a bad reaction to it. So of course, when they get to asking questions, and I got my car keys in my pocket, well, which car is yours? Now you want to come down and search my car? They find that gun in the car, they take it, do a ballistics test on it. It come back to somebody or three somebody's done been killed in Omaha or Kansas or Missouri, wherever he got that gun from. They gonna start looking at me. So I
Mm-hmm.
left. I did have enough uh of my faculty still remaining to know that, but I was still scared to death. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tell you one more thing to answer your question you asked me earlier about how do I know or why do I think so strongly that it was that chick?
Mm-hmm.
Because when she stood up and she turned her head to look at them thistles, I'm not 100% sure, but I am about 98.5 that she had a gold hoop earring in her ear
Oh wow.
because I seen it flash in the light. but it was just a quick look, and I looked back over there, and then I started looking at her body, so I could see everything that whatever she was. But I seen her,
Mm-hmm.
and I know how gold look when it flash and catch light. But she whipped her head like that. But it would have been when she came in the store. She had on them big gold hoop earrings that kind of hang on your shoulder or your neck,
Mm-hmm.
side of your neck. But in her
Mm-hmm.
ear, it wasn't no bigger than a bracelet
Mm.
due to the size of her head. So that is
Mm-hmm.
why I think that was her, including the fact that she never showed up that night unless, well, she showed up that night. She just didn't show up how I met her.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to my house. I pulled the sofa from the wall and put it in front of the door. I went in the kitchen and unplugged my refrigerator and drug that in the front room and put in front of the couch and plugged it back in. And then I went in the closet and got my speed loaders down and started loading
Mm-hmm.
them. And I went up in the pantry and I got me some Jack Daniels Green Label and I took 3 shots and then I started to replay. But I'm sitting at the table facing the door and I got my gun pointed toward the door. And I'm
Oh
like, you
yeah.
know what? Let me get my journal and write this down while it's still fresh in my mind. But of
Mm-hmm.
course, the first few pages is a lot of, I seen a effing werewolf. Why? I seen a werewolf. It's like I was trying to reconvince myself of what I seen, but I know what I saw.
Mm.
And my
Mm-hmm.
dad raised us because he was in the military. He said, God gave you the best recording equipment, audio equipment, and your camera. I'm like, what you talking about, Dad? He said, your brain is your hard drive, your eyes are your camera, and your mouth is your audio system. God gave you that
Mm-hmm.
for a reason. He said, if your eyes see something, that means you seen it. So don't let your brain send a different signal to where you ask yourself, did I really see that? I must have been hallucinating. Sometimes that
Well, I
might
mean,
be a
how could
defense.
everybody be hallucinating at the same time? Everybody seeing
Exactly.
the same thing. And I think that
Exactly.
you said that
So,
later on you got in touch with the son. You know, you tried to get in touch with the son that Herman
oh yeah,
had.
fast forward to 2021, 20 2021. Um, I got a cousin that live in Texas, and he been with this girl for coming up on 15, 16 years now. But a few years ago, we was having a conversation. Actually, they was listening to my encounter the first time I shared it, and they was
Mm-hmm.
sitting there listening. And this, I think she has a photographic memory,
Uh-huh.
but she has another ability too because she can see dead people. Now, I warned well, I guess warning is the right word, but I told my cousin, you better be careful with her, man. He's like, what you talking about, cuz? I'm like, she could see dead people. I mean, he's drive over the road and sometimes she is rode with him, but I know there's a highway they go down in Florida. And she said to him, why is all these people walking next to the highway?
Mm-hmm.
It's 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And my cousin's like, what you talking about? She's like, you don't see them? She said they dress like slaves and they ain't got no shoes, but they all walking in the same way you going. And he look over there, he like, I don't see nothing over there. So he thought that she was messing with him
Mm-hmm.
until one day he called me after they had watched my encounter and we was talking. And uh we had been talking about some exes that we dealt with, and she got a little bit bent out of shape about that. But she said, um, I bet your grandmama wouldn't be happy to hear you disrespecting me like that, something along them lines. He's like, what you talking about? And she said, she looking at you right now. She's standing right there in the kitchen doorway with your mama looking at you and they both ain't happy. And I'm like, what did she just say, cuz? Put me on speakerphone. I said, woman, what you talking about? She's like, I don't know why people be thinking I be lying. My mama didn't even believe me when I told her I be seeing stuff when I was a little girl. I said you seen grandmother. She said, yeah. I said, what she look like? Because grandmother passed many years before Cleophas even met her.
Mhm.
The person she described standing in that doorway was grandmother to the T, especially
Mm.
with she put her glasses down on the end of her nose like that. And when she look at you, you know it's about to go down because that's the only time she did it. But she described her
Mhm.
to the T. And I was like, cuz, he was like, man, I was like, all I got to say is cuz, man. So his girl know, I don't know if she's gang affiliated or not, but she know a lot of people. And when she heard my encounter, she took it up on herself to go out in her network, and she said she was looking for somebody that had a white spot in their head. And I'm
Mhm.
like, but she said his name was Herman. Now, Herman was not Herman's real name. That was his street name. The actually his friends gave it to that because they said his head was so big it reminded him of Herman the Monster off the Monster TV show. And
Mhm.
when I found that out, I was laughing at Herman and joking with him before we had that encounter when we was at the
Mhm.
park. They was like, hey, Herman, because you know Herman be like, man, F y'all, man, that stuff ain't funny. But like I said, they all knew each other for years. So
Mhm.
when what she was able to do, because this was after uh Katrina, and you know a lot of people in Louisiana got misplaced or displaced, and they was moving to different
Mhm.
places. There's quite a few people here now that got sent here from Katrina out of that Superdome. Now, follow me when I say this, but one of her friend, girlfriend, cousin was dating a dude that basically was Herman's son.
Mm.
So she contacted her, and she told her to tell his son that there's somebody that want to talk to him. And I
Mm.
talked to him 3 times. 3 times. The last conversation we had didn't go so good. The first conversation we had didn't go that well. Neither did the second one because first of
Mm.
all, he don't believe in no
Mm.
boogeyman, no werewolf, no vampires. Ain't nothing that can get you in the dark. If it do, I got a street sweeper that take care of all of that. And of course, he was calling me the N word quite a bit. Um, I'm crazy. Everybody that was on that railroad track was crazy. Y'all done took my daddy from me. Wait a minute, bro. Wait a minute. I said, man, I don't know you and you don't know me, but I knew of you before you even came into this world. I just want to tell you what happened with your father. But before I do that, please tell me why you so mad at me. You robbed me of having a regular childhood with my father. I'm like, what do you mean?
Why would he say that?
Because his dad was scared of every freaking thing. He had moments where he was lucid, but for the most part, for the next 7.5 years until he passed away, if you in a car riding across the railroad tracks and he's sitting on the passenger seat, he's immediately
Mhm.
coming to the middle of the car, top, start hollering and screaming, "Get me off these railroad tracks!" If he's
Mhm.
in his room, a stick might tap against the side of the house from the wind, or the rain might hit the side of the house too hard. He's freaking out, running around the house talking about that thing is coming to get me. That thing is coming to get me. And his son is 2 and 3 and 4 years old watching his dad do that. It got so bad that his mama stopped letting her be alone with the kid. If his mother or the grandmother or the mother wasn't there, they not gonna leave him in the room alone with Herman because they don't know when he freak out. They went to
Wow.
the movies one night to see something, and they got there and got the late showing, and he's with his girl, the baby mama, and Herman and his son. And the boy said, I was 5 years old, and we had to park far away because we got to the theater late. Herman wouldn't even walk across the parking lot with him because it was dark over by where the car was parked because I guess it was some trees growing over. He said, pick me up in front of the movie theater. I'm not going over there.
Mm,
Just, you know, I understood his anger
mm-hmm.
to a certain level because there's a lot of people that don't believe in these things being on this earth with us. I
Right.
have had some people attack me, including they created a Reddit page talking about how I fabricated everything, including talking about I talked to Herman's son. Now I started to go and join that group and let them have it. But God said, I got you. You don't have to
But
prove
who
anything to
was the
anybody.
group? Who was the group that was trying to say you fabricated everything?
I'll send you a screenshot of it. Um it's on I just when you Google my name and put werewolf pop up behind it, all the
Uh-huh.
podcasts I've been on, and that actually when you start scrolling, it popped up and it's a Reddit group. I don't know what the name of it is, but
Well, I
bless
want to
they
say this is that Sugar 50, 51, she's saying that her son encountered a similar thing, a
oh
Lukaru.
really?
Yeah, so she's in the audience right now. And then the reason why I even brought up Baba Yashabaya is because he has done the research, and he when I Rad, you talked to Baba, because I was like, okay, if people that don't believe that this is a true encounter and something that this is a well known thing in Louisiana,
Mm-hmm.
this is not something people in Louisiana know about this. So to outside people that are not from Louisiana, um,
You wouldn't know.
you wouldn't know that these things are existed. So
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Baba, I wanted to, Baba, you there? Baba, he might have stepped away from his computer.
No, I'm
Oh, here,
here.
Mm-hmm.
here. Okay. Yeah, I wanted you to talk about like the what in Louisiana. Explain how a lot of these type of things are going on in Louisiana.
Well, like I said, I moved in Louisiana in 2007 doing some research. But anyway, as I travel over Louisiana and being a truck driver, I get to go a lot of places. And you said, and you hear these stories, especially when you're sitting around the dock with dock workers and loaders and unloaders. And these, they call them folklores or legends and ideas. So you're sitting there and you hear these things. So this is not the first time I've heard this. And there are some
Mm-hmm.
deep, strange places in Louisiana because this particular area has a unique uh, history that's tied into paranormal, seeing things going on. Matter of fact, do you know what the word Baton Rouge means?
No, what does
Mm-hmm.
Baton Rouge mean?
It means bloody stick.
Mm.
Mm.
And a lot of things happened, and you had a lot of things happen when the French came in and the Spanish came in, and all the things that went on down here. They had a place down here where they call, uh, um, oh man, and I can't think of a name, but well, they a lot of this went on, and they won't even eat uh the fruit out of this place because of some of the things that went on down there. I'm trying to think
The fruit
of
from
Oh
the
the trees.
wow.
huh?
They won't eat the fruit from the trees.
Yeah, because of what went down. There's a place outside of Natchez, and it's a lot of places around here, and there's nothing around here to see strange things around here in Louisiana. They tell you all the time, be careful out. Uh, Devil's Bowl.
Devil's Bowl. Okay.
Yeah,
Mm.
look up Devil's Bowl, and
And what?
you're gonna find that they claim at least 20,000 folks perished in Devil's Bowl down outside of Natchez. Uh,
Mm.
and
Was
they said
that
that
because of the war?
well, not because of war, because there's a lot more behind that than the war. We've had a lot of floods, a lot of things going, and you got a lot of bodies, you got a lot of things happening. Folks are vanishing
Mm-hmm.
and they don't find them again. We've got a lot of things going. And I was listening to uh Roy talk about there is a place, I don't know, Roy was they're going down Highway 75 going through Florida. It's a place called Alligator Alley. Have you ever heard of it?
That's it. That's it.
I knew it.
That's it.
Alligator Alley. You definitely on point.
That's where
talk.
you
You
was
were
at
at
Alligator
Alligator
Alley.
Alley.
Huh?
He was in Alligator Alley by
He was
Alligator
Yeah,
Alley.
driving
that's
down Alligator Ave.
the place where my cousin was driving that night. That's it right
The
there, because he
highway
always talking about
75 is called Alligator Alley. I know
yeah.
exactly what you're talking about. And you see strange thing. There's a place outside of Marshall, Texas. There's a road that you can actually walk and see bodies hanging from the trees sometimes going down this road.
Oh wow.
Mm, mm.
In fact,
Queen Sugar, she's the one who said about her son experienced a Lugaroo, a
Queen Sugar,
Rougarou.
she probably know. And there's a lot of things that goes on down here that people will afraid to talk about or will talk about.
You can
Like I
hear me, Genesis?
Yeah, I can hear you. Now I can. Go ahead. Welcome to the panel, Queen Sugar.
Yeah, go ahead, Queen Sugar. I mean, and like I told you, when you came to visit the plantation house, and we was y'all was saying that I was telling you about
Hey, y'all.
the only surviving
Hello.
plantation.
Sorry
You
about
wanna-
that, Baba. Go ahead, Queen Sugar, real quick.
Go ahead, Queen Sugar.
Are you gonna say? Are you talking?
I think I got two things open. I don't know what it is.
Is it an echo?
Yeah, I'm hearing an echo. Yeah.
Yeah, something
Okay,
like
because we can hear you. So if you just tell the story, you're probably gonna close the YouTube.
Yeah.
Yep, I can hear you.
So did you want to say something, or you trying to fix that? Well, go ahead, Baba, while she fixes her computer.
How do I close the YouTube?
Whatever program that you're watching YouTube on, you would just close that out. Are you on your phone or computer?
Okay.
Or you could just pause the YouTube.
I'm on my phone.
You could pause the YouTube and then just listen to it on StreamYard. Sorry about that, guys.
no problem, no problem.
Yeah.
So what were
yeah.
you saying, Queen Sugar? Okay, so moving forward, so Baba, so you're saying that so Alligator Alley, and what else is going on? So where were we at?
When I heard Roy talking, I immediately know. I said that's got to be Alligator Alley. That's Highway 75 coming across that particular stretch of ground. It's called Alligator Alley.
Yep.
And a lot of strange things have happened along there, and you got a lot of what he was. I said, man, that's got to be because these are things that I encountered when I was coming across, going over, carrying a load down to Florida, and you got to cut across 75. It's called 75, and you go a thing called Alligator Alley, And I'm going like, and they say you don't stop. If you got a
You
problem,
just
don't
keep
stop
on
at night.
going.
Yeah, hey man, drop a gear, put your foot in it, and get on across.
Yeah, you know, but let me tell you something. I was telling a story about we went to this this whole event where it was a slave we were sending the slaves like trying to get them to rest in peace on this Hi Queen Sugar, you're back. Can we hear you now? Can you hear us now? All right. So, anyways, there was this slave plantation, and I'm gonna show you guys some of the pictures. I'm trying
to get this mess.
Right. Okay. So just let me know when you're ready to say something to talk. Okay. So there was this plantation, and we were there to
I'm ready.
Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead, Sugar. Go ahead. You can talk.
You should finish first, Monica, because I want to hear it. You said there was this plantation, and go ahead,
So,
and then Queen Sugar can go after you.
My son was
There's a delay. Go ahead, Queen Sugar. I'm trying to find the. I'm gonna try to find the. I'm trying to find the picture. So
go ahead, Genesis.
No, go ahead, Queen Sugar. I'm gonna try to find the picture so I can show it to you. So go ahead and tell your story so I can find these pictures. Sorry, guys, there's a slight delay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, my son was with his friends. Y'all can hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
and he was gone out in the country, like way out in the country in the back of Abbeville somewhere. And he was shooting, they was going to shoot guns or whatever.
Mhm.
And they was he was clowning and acting silly with his kid with his friends. And he looked the other way and he seen this monster that's on a like something like it was on all its four legs, but then
Mhm.
oh, I wish I could get rid of this echo. This is just terrible.
That's okay. Okay, so yeah, so he saw an animal on four legs. You know what you could do is when you get your sound together, just pause the YouTube and then come up with StreamYard, and then you could tell the rest of your story. Hello. Okay.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, I'm sorry because there's like a delay and everything. So, anyways, so this was this plantation that we were at, and we were what we were doing at the plantation. We were me, Baba Yashabai, and a few other people were there to have some kind of a ceremony to let the people there rest in peace. A lot of the because there was like some kind of a war or like some soldiers or something like that had gotten killed at this plantation, right? Was that the story, Baba?
It was called the Battle of Milliken's Bend in 18 in January of 7, 1863. The African Brigade fought against the Confederate here in a place called Tallulah, Louisiana, better known as Milliken Bend. And this place was a holding ground for the Union soldiers. But prior to that, it was a place that was a slave that slaves lived on, and the guy that lived there was the sheriff. His job was to go out, and if you owed money, they would collect your slaves and put them in what they call debtor prison till you get the money to bail them out. Well, 125 of them was buried between that house, where we're inside the house, to the railroad track. The guy that bought the antebellum home was named Porter Johnson. And a lot of time at night, the spirit would come in and drag him through the house. Right next to the house outside, there's 5 graves of the slave owner is buried beside the house. 125 slaves is buried between behind the house and from there in the railroad track. Also in the house is the remains of a slave that was hung with a chain, and we found his bones just prior to that event, and we put the remains inside the house. I did send that to Monica, the skull and the fibula. Okay, this is what it looked like. This the last standing plantation house during the Civil War of June 1863. A place called um, Milliken Bend, uh, Richmond, Louisiana, and that's where we were. And we was there doing a ancestral ceremony. This is the ceremony right here, where we was outside, the drumming, the fire ceremony, and they brought out the Agungun spirit in order to give them time to rest. So we were there doing a Gungun setup to let them rest, because a lot of things been going on phenomenal around there. That place was built by the slaves. The bricks you saw was made by slaves, and the whole thing was built by them. And so she was there for that event, and it's still
So
standing to this day.
so what happened is that imagine so we're out there. This is the
And look at that
backyard.
light. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's so this is strange. Okay, this is not how light behaves. Just first of all, so if
Mhm.
that's one thing. If you look at this picture, that is not how light behaves. First off, now when we were in this circle, right,
Mhm.
walking back and forth from the house, you would hear boo. Yeah, and I'm like, and I'm hearing all of that. So I'm thinking that there's people outside of this thing walking down the street making fun of us.
Hmm.
There was nobody
Wow.
there. Nobody
Nobody.
was there but us, you know. But I'm hearing, yeah, I'm hearing it's a party going on somewhere down the street.
Nope.
There was nobody there.
That's the picture he's showing us.
That's just some of it. It's more to it. You have some
This
more.
was just us. We were just getting ready to do the celebration. So we were all sitting in chairs waiting to like start the actual the not the ceremony. And
Yeah.
the ceremony was for it was meant to
652 people, Africans died there at this battle. And that's when the black was first given honor and recognized as being warriors that would fight. And the guy in the white, go back, the guy in the white, go back. The white guy sitting there, his name, he was there doing getting his dissertation, his doctorate dissertation information for the writer's thing on African spirituality. That's why he was there.
Wow.
Yeah.
yeah, and
Network.
see these light, see how this light is doing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was some kind of a weird spiritual energy going on there. But I was the only one that heard all these like people partying and hanging out and making fun and like they were getting closer and closer. And I'm like, y'all don't hear that? Like, why are they making fun of us? And people were like, I don't like, they were looking at me like smiling. Like the people that were there, I'm like, why are the people like coming around walking making fun of us? And nobody else heard it. So people probably thought I was crazy because nobody heard it. It was I was the only one that heard this going on.
Wow. Hmm.
It was weird. So yeah, but this is the everybody just waiting for the gungun. Uh,
I think I got it back, Genesis.
see, see how quiet it is. But imagine in the background, hey, whoo, but it sounded like it was an echo, like they were like coming down the street. It was the craziest thing ever. So this is me sitting amongst them filming stuff, but in my ears I hear like there's spirits or something like that. Well, I found out later that they were actually there was something else going on because I thought it was real people all the way. It took me until I asked some people later on, like, why was those people laughing and stuff? It's like, wasn't no people laughing. And I said, oh my God,
Huh.
those were spirits that was doing that then. Because,
Genesis, you can hear me now?
yeah, I can hear you now. Yep.
Okay. So my son was with a couple of his little white friends one night, and they went all the way to Forked Island. Forked Island is like you going to like almost in the Gulf. Well, really, Fouchon is like in the Gulf. That's where he works offshore. But Forked Island is like way in the boondocks, the boonies. And they were shooting guns, just doing regular kid stuff, acting stupid, shooting guns. And he seen this thing. He turned his head and he seen this thing on all fours. And he said it didn't look like a dog. And when he turned his head again, he seen it rise up. And he said the thing looked like it was like 5 or 6 foot tall. And it looked he said it was a skinwalker, but I said no. I said what you seen was a rougarou. That's the thing we call them down here in South Louisiana. And he said he didn't stay there to look at it. He ran. He left with his friends. And he said, "Mama, I'm serious. That was not a dog I seen. I seen because the thing stood up on his foot, on his feet, And I didn't ask him. I just pushed it off aside. I didn't ask him nothing no more. I said, that's what you get for going out in the country and shooting guns like you're stupid. But that's what he seen. And I heard a lot of we heard a lot of tales about that stuff down here, like in South Louisiana, and going towards New Orleans and stuff, you know. But what I'm saying, what he probably seen, what the man probably seen was a Rougarou, not really a werewolf.
So
Because if
what is
he's
the
saying
difference between a real Rougaloo and a werewolf?
a Rougarou is close to a skinwalker,
What's the skinwalker? What's the
like
difference between
a skinwalker is like it's like a chameleon. It could disguise itself, you
so
know.
it could do any, it could turn into different forms
Yeah,
and everything?
it could disguise itself. So what he sound like he seen was a Rougarou, but maybe, you know, he's saying it's a werewolf. Maybe it's
I
a
wonder what
werewolf,
the
you know.
thing is about the French and these these werewolves. Like, didn't they have? Is what is the why is it so connected to Louisiana, Haiti? These kind of werewolf creatures. Why is that such a connection?
We have a lot of like woods, like back like property, you know, that's just not, they're not doing enough with it, nothing with it. And you know, it's like somewhere where a lot of things you could hide a lot of things. I mean, you know,
No, no, I'm talking about in general because even in Haiti they have these skinwalker
I don't know what that is,
Roogaloos.
but
You know,
I don't know.
Baba, do you know why is it that?
I, I don't know why. All I know that we got a lot of history of people transplanting in and out here, and different things coming in here from different parts of the country and other parts of the globe, and they're bringing things in. I'm pretty sure she's familiar with the New Orleans area, but you got places like Yucca Plantation over outside of Shreveport, a place called
Yeah,
Natchitoches. And what
yeah,
people don't realize, back in the day, Louisiana was ran by a bunch of black men before they got ran out of office, you know. And and I'm pretty sure you're aware of Queen Sugar.
uh-huh.
Are you familiar with a guy by the name of William Natchez Johnson?
Who?
William Natchez Johnson.
Uh-uh.
He lived there in Natchez. He owned both black and white slaves. He was the richest black man in Mississippi.
No.
He's got a two-story
Wow.
house on Canal Street there in Natchez. Well, you got all kind of stories about dungeons and things like this going on back during his
I'm
time.
more closer to New Orleans.
Well, okay, you close to New Orleans, so you know what Metairie and all that is in, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, Gonzales.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay, Gonzales. What's the other place? What's it at? Between outside of Gonzales, uh,
Thibodeau,
Thibodeau, yeah. And then,
Chalmette.
yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of things that go on, and I said, and a lot of people, it ain't talked about a lot because you know, hey, if you ain't from here, you wouldn't understand no way. But
And you see
once,
they just burned the plantation down, right?
yeah, yeah, we saw that, yeah,
Not away plantation.
not away, you want the, yeah, you know. So, but no, but we were saying earlier, it, there are a lot of things that we people encounter in this area, because especially now I'm in Tallulah. Tallulah is up at the
Oh,
top,
okay.
near Vicksburg, up in that area, right?
Yeah, that's where
Okay.
my little nephew was in the, you know, the Tallulah boys home. He was in there.
Oh yeah, Christian Acres.
Yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
See, and they bring a lot of people from New Orleans up this way, well, up into the DC the detention camp and Christian Acres and like that. It's known for prison time. But what I was about
Mm-hmm.
to say is, Tallulah is known for the people that has the occult spirit or spirituals, like
Mm.
James Goldsberry, Dr. Tut,
Mm-hmm.
Mama Tank. These were spiritual workers that made things happen. And that's another, they call it voodoo or badoom. But these are things that they were using back in the day to protect themselves from the slave master. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you got
Okay.
there's a place down south called Niggertown. You remember? Was you familiar with it?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And people like me, no, that's a lot of niggas. It was a whole place called Nigger Town.
So, do you think a lot of this stuff happens because of like the kind of Native American spirituality it's getting going on, or do you think it's coming from
When it come,
France? Or
There,
when,
there's so many plantations out here, you know,
oh, yeah, Bellums, yeah,
and we had so many slaves.
right, but
So
but
I'm
but I
sure.
think that that werewolf thing comes from Native American stuff, like being able to switch and turn into a
That's
different creature.
you
that's
have
generally
to.
Skinwalker from the Navajos and
Yeah, yeah.
some Pueblo Indians. But
Well, I
the
think
skin,
isn't Lugla rules is a skinwalker. It's the same thing. Lugla.
It's
because
like a skinwalker. It's familiar to a skinwalker.
So
yeah,
I'm just trying to figure out how. So in Haiti, because they have illegal rules in Haiti too, the skinwalkers.
Oh, and Haiti. Oh, really?
Yeah, and they have them in Louisiana. So I'm trying to figure. But I know some of the slaves were brought from Haiti to Louisiana,
Right.
and maybe some of those
Mm-hmm.
were like some kind of creatures, like mixed
Maybe that's
creatures.
how they
Or
bought
is
them
it like
here.
witchcraft? Like, is it because these things are have some kind of a witchcraft attached to them that's converting
Well,
them over to this?
that's what I was saying a while ago. That's because Marie Laveau came from Haiti. She came during the Haitian Revolution and moved
Yeah.
to New Orleans. And she became one of the powerhouses in New Orleans. Everybody know you, when Marie Laveau spoke, that was a rap.
Mm-hmm.
That was a
Yep.
rap.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah. So and they say how she really controlled New Orleans. Yeah.
yeah.
The
My,
dog
all I know is
man,
my boss said it was the Loop Guru.
the Lugar. Yeah, they call it the Lugaroo in the Lugaroo is in Haiti and the Rougarou is in Louisiana. So I'm not sure
Yeah.
if there's different ones that with the L in Haiti and the one with the R in Louisiana, they look different or color different colors or something like that. You know what I'm saying? One stands up with one foot, one stand up with the foot.
Yep.
But they have it. Vet, you talking? You're on mute.
Who?
Are you talking?
Yeah, her microphone is
I'm
Your
not
muted.
on mute.
microphone, your headset might not be working. Okay.
Yeah, your cousin. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw her mouth talking. I said, "Wait, hold on, she's trying to say something." But
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yeah,
she was
like I said,
gesturing. So
yeah, yeah. Because I've also heard of vampires in Louisiana as well. So, and I've
Yeah.
heard a lot of stories about the vampires. Um, and I think it's almost like a whole community of vampires out there. So would not be far fetched that there is also a community of werewolf. And I think it's interesting how in your story she didn't give you her phone number. She didn't because she probably knew that she was going to come out and do that. I still can't hear you. You probably gotta not do the Bluetooth, but just talk straight with your phone. But yeah, I was saying, you know, I don't hear
What y'all think about
yeah,
that plantation that burnt? They don't know where the fire started.
you. That could have been anything.
I mean, then they got
well,
pictures coming out where they seen in the fire. They seen the slaves in the fire, like the ghost of of slaves. I don't know if that's true. People could make anything these days.
yeah.
Well, I
It
mean,
could be.
whether it's true or not, we know the plantation burned.
Right.
Yeah,
That's enough
So
for me.
do you think that those Lugaroo are from other dimensions?
maybe.
Mm,
Well,
mm,
everything comes
you
out of
know,
the. What does it say in
well,
Hebrew? The earth is a marketplace, and Orun is our home. Everything that moves in this galaxy comes here. This is like a training facility,
Yeah.
and there are other dimensions that come here. There are other star planets that there are people come here. They've told us that, and that's a fact. You know,
Somebody has a really bad back like a feedback.
background noise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody
So
playing in the background.
I know it's
I
not.
don't
Is it?
think it's
It's
me.
not me because you can't hear me.
now I can hear you. Now I can hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you can hear me now.
Yeah, so I'm gonna I'm
Yes,
gonna I'm
ma'am.
gonna mute everybody and see where that sound is coming from. Give me 1 second. Let me figure out where
Okay,
it's coming from.
watch it be me.
Nope, it's Roy.
It's
Oh.
me. I'm sitting outside in the car.
Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. Maybe I
Are
don't
you
know.
are you hearing birds?
No, it's just like a little hum in the background every time somebody says something. But I think we'll get through it. But
I can hear it
Let me
though.
look.
Yeah, I hear it too.
yeah. So what were you gonna say? Vet.
No, I was just asking, like, okay, to this day, like 2025, do people be seeing them now? Do they see
Come and
them
join.
now?
What
Come
the
and join my
Rougarou?
group. Come and join my group.
I
What
mean,
she say?
I don't want to go out and look for them or anything.
Oh
Cause
no, no
Who
ma'am,
who
I'm
they
not
no
even
ma'am, no
I'm
ma'am,
not even
no
for
ma'am.
all that.
who you
I
talking
Um,
just
about? The Rougarous? Do they
yeah, the
still see them these
Rougarou.
days?
Yep,
Well, it's
these
not.
days.
That wasn't too far back when my son seen it. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Oh wow.
um,
that was not. That was like probably last year sometime. So
This is my
Monica,
first day even hearing of the Rougaloo, and it's in United States and it's down in
Man, we are
Louisiana.
tearing that name up. The Luglaroo, Rugalaroo.
Isn't it
the
the
Rougarou
Rougarou
Rougaloo?
and the
It's
Genesis.
been
Rougarou.
like Lugaloo,
The Roo.
Boogaloo, Electric Boogaloo, everything.
And you know what? I wouldn't even want to see that thing.
Hell
Like,
no.
go on.
I'll let Roy tell his story and I better
I
before
don't
we
want to
get
see it either.
hell no.
No, me
Monica,
either.
What you say, Roy?
tell them what I sent you this morning on Messenger. That picture I sent
Oh
you.
yeah, it looked like it was a UFO or something like that flying or
So,
something.
Roy, you're going out here and you're looking for this thing that hunted you
No.
like back in the day, or no?
Hold on. One thing I'm gonna tell you is this: Roy, love him some Roy. I do
Right.
not want to be Roy Steak Tartar. No, I have a cryptid group. Well, I cover cryptids, paranormal, supernatural,
Oh, okay.
UFOs. I have a member of my group that sees dogmen every day.
Oh,
Mm.
wow.
They watch her constantly. Now, a lot of people
What
look
they
at them and
want
say,
from her?
"Well,
What do
we
they
working on
want?
that.
What they want from
We
her?
work, we working on that." But it's coming up. This year will be 8 years,
Do she take pictures of this and
and video.
oh wow. Wow.
They let her
Roy,
see
That
her. They let her see their babies. She got Bigfoot pictures. She got stuff that she can't see with your naked eye, but something tell her to start taking pictures. And there's all kind of light phenomena, music notes in the air, letters, number C, sometimes sevens. That picture that I sent Monica was 3 days ago. But that ship she talking about, I got that from her. I didn't think
Monica,
she
can
was
you
going to post
share
it.
it?
Yeah, I'm about to
Can you
share it
share
now.
it?
Yep.
Okay.
I,
Let's
I
see.
didn't think she was going to post it, but if you look at that carefully, you can see there's two grays in that picture. They kind of
All
in the
right,
shadows,
let me
but you
see.
can see that.
Trying to zoom in, but
It looked like a UFO like right there.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
she sees a little bit of everything.
right there
If
in the
it,
center.
she got
I wish
stuff
I
caught
could
on her
zoom.
security cam, but she doesn't go in the woods, and she lives in the city. Sometimes she just be walking to the store or back home, or sitting on her front steps, and they be right across the
Mm.
street.
Wow.
I got a
Mm.
lot of stuff like that in my group, and I was talking with her this morning. That ain't even a fourth of the stuff content that she has that she shared. Now, of course, I got a lot of stuff in the warehouse. Yeah, that's a really interesting video right there because they right across the street to the left and the right of that tree. But you want to look for, they eyes sparkle like diamonds.
Huh.
So you're gonna look in that dark area on the right side. I'm sorry, the left side of the tree, and just to the right of that center tree, they right there. A dude actually walks up the street in that video, and he don't have a clue how close he is to him.
Well, this
You're
was
gonna
her
have to.
her door cam.
No, she's standing in the yard. And this picture right here, you looking at that pane of glass right there. I was on the phone with her when she took 4 of the videos that I posted in the group. So I know they genuine because she was scared to get out of her car and go in the house. That thing is looking out of the glass in her house.
Mm.
Yeah, I see it. Just the little, it
Yeah,
sparkled
look,
right there, right
yeah.
there.
It actually blinks and move his head.
Yeah, look at that.
What is that?
It looks like a really big wolf head, but it's not inside the house. You see that red border behind the picture over on the corner of that window frame?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, that's a blanket that's been nailed up to the window frame, and she's got a comforter hanging up behind that, and then she got
Oh, okay.
blackout curtains hanging behind that because them things will come
Mm-hmm.
up on the porch or walk around. All of her windows were covered because them things would walk up to the house at night and was looking through the curtains and scaring her kids. But they haven't tried to hurt her, and they've
Okay.
had plenty of opportunities to get her. So, in
Because it
this
looks like
one,
it's like when you try
see
to
it,
capture it,
this is
it's hard
blurry.
to capture.
But
What's
right
that?
there at the top of the tree, if you look, you'll be able to see he's breathing. He sticks his tongue out. He blinks and pulls his tongue in right there toward the top of the tree, just to the right of that pole. And he's about when he stands up on his hind legs, he's about 15 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a video, that wasn't
Yeah.
the video though. It was just a still
Oh,
shot of it.
screenshot. Yeah, and I actually and now this right here, I don't know what that thing is peeking from behind that pole, but I have a before, during, and after shot that was captured on her security cam.
So what's happening is so people are they're going through their own encounters and they're sending you different videos and they're
This is
asking
all of that is from one person.
for one person. Okay, and
The
man,
only other person that really shares their own content
what
is
is this?
this
What
lady
is
from
this light?
Scotland.
What's this light right here coming around this? What is that?
Yeah, that's square.
That's a white line
Let me
that she
see.
put around it. That's a Bigfoot.
A what?
A Bigfoot. A
Bigfoot.
Sasquatch. Yeah.
Oh.
Like we
Hmm.
have that up here more so in
Yeah.
Ohio.
So you've
It's
heard of the
on.
Bigfoot in Ohio?
Yes,
Oh
they got a
yeah.
group up here, like a group that go and search for him, and I'm not searching for that thing.
Sometimes
Yeah,
you
they
don't have
got
to. You
all
just
the.
have to live in the wrong place.
Yeah, but I mean, like we got woods like around us, like a park. So they were saying it was down in that Beatty Park, Monica. They said it was down there.
Oh, by Beatty
So,
Park. Yeah. Okay.
yep, in Beatty Park. They would hear like, I don't know, these sounds or whatever, because they got a community that searches for Bigfoot here. But and then where is it out? Austin Lake, out at the different lakes we have around us. Like there's like a lot of forest, but I only talked to one lady like about it, what they do. They search for all that stuff, but I haven't like encountered anything. I'm not looking for
I
that.
was, but you know what's so crazy? I didn't even realize that Steubenville and that whole area that we're from is considered Appalachia.
Yeah, Appalachian.
Oh.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
So yeah,
Y'all
so
close to that part of the
yeah,
country?
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yep. We in the Appalachians. Yep.
and
There's a
it's all
whole
kind of
lot of
weird.
strangeness goes on over there. A lot of people disappear on that Appalachian Trail. A
Yeah,
lot.
yeah. I've heard a
So
lot about that, and it's crazy because it does have its own energy to it, and it is in the middle of nowhere. Like Steubenville is kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's in the
Well,
in the
where my
valley
mom
of the
came
mountain.
from in McIntyre,
Uh-huh.
McIntyre has a lot of slaves that came there from the south. You know
Hmm.
how they ran to the north. They settled in McIntyre, and
Yeah.
McIntyre got a lot of that. Things that was happening out there, like with a lot of slaves. So,
Hmm.
but that's for another time, another story.
Right. So coming up at 6 o'clock, Baba Yashaba is going to get into E5 and possession. but because we have our weekly principles of E5. So we have
Mhm.
like a few more minutes here that we're gonna like talk about this, but then we're gonna have to switch to his show at 6. But I
Okay.
definitely wanted to we probably have to bring you back, Roy, so we can really maybe even bring some people on that have experiences and talk through these experiences that we've gone through that people have gone through.
Really
Okay.
enjoyed you, Roy.
Okay.
I
Really
really
Hey, it
enjoyed
was
that.
a
enjoyed
pleasure.
That
it.
was
Was
an
It was
awesome
a
story.
pleasure.
very enlightening, man. Very
Well,
enlightening. And
I
it just
just
snapped up some things that I've been hearing and some things that I went through myself. And well, whoa, I ain't the only nut out there. There's some more folks out here seeing these things. But yeah, I got my experience on Alligator Alley though. That's what I knew when
yeah,
I was
yeah, that my
yeah, man.
cousin my cousin said he didn't like driving down that highway after that, but he had a dedicated run going from
Yeah,
Texas
right.
down to Florida, and that's the way he went. He's like, man, I don't never want to have to pull over, break down there, because,
Yeah.
dude, I'm like, what? Like, she said she seen all these people walking. I said, do you believe her? He said, yeah. I'm like, especially after she told you about grandmother, huh? Yep. I said, okay, follow what your gut tell you. So he tried to start getting runs that would take him up to New York rather than down to Florida. I put it
Okay.
like that, because he did not like driving that road at all after that. He just, I guess once and then you want to try to stay out of that area. That's why I don't take my hindquarters back down to New Orleans or Metairie. I'm not. Nope. I ain't gonna
Let
end
me
up
ask
like
you,
one of them
where you
black
at
folks
now,
on the
Roy?
horror movie. I'm in
Roy,
Arizona now,
what part?
Phoenix.
I was born in Phoenix. I was born
Yeah,
in May.
when we talked before, you told me that. Yeah.
I was born in Mesa, Maricopa County. And I used to go out to the reservation out the Hope outside of Scottsdale out in that
Yep.
area.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's still
Well,
out there.
well,
Wow.
panel, this was interesting, and thank you, Roy, for your story. It was weird. It was weird as heck. I'm gonna tell you that. And Baba, is it Baba?
Baba
Yeah.
Yashabaya.
Yeah.
Bob, can
Oh,
I just say Baba? Because I'll
Yeah. You
mess
can,
up the
you
rest
can,
of
yes,
it.
you can. Yeah. Yeah.
Baba, you are very intelligent about, history and all that stuff. Hopefully I get to come back to speak to you. And Roy, I would like to speak to you again too, because that was the weirdest stuff, man. But I like to hear like weird stuff, like, oh man.
yeah.
But I don't want to experience it. I'm a
Hell
scaredy
no.
cat.
I don't think
I
I
don't
want to
I
blame
experience
am.
you.
it.
I don't want to see no ghosts. I don't want to see no
No,
mystical animals. I don't want to see none of that. They
not
can
over
keep
here.
all that. And I would have did the same thing you did and your friend did. I would have been going to the bathroom on myself the whole time, stuck. Like, oh my God, what is that? And
I don't
couldn't
feel any
sleep.
shame.
And I would have went home. I would have did
I
the
would have
same
been
thing.
bounced.
I would have did, yeah, I would have bounced. I would have did the
Well,
same thing. I would have put everything up to that door, couldn't sleep for days, everything.
Right. I would have to get some psychotherapy, some kind of a mental help, because I don't think I would have been. I don't think I would have been scared to death. That guy, I see what he went through. I feel sorry for him that had to live the rest of his life in that way.
Yeah,
And
because
it's
it like
interesting.
messed him up.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Um, we're going to be talking about possession in the next thing, because we're going to talk about different spiritual possessions, because we see, and all this stuff is tied in with each other.
Yeah.
We don't think so. We think of things from a surface level, a werewolf, but we don't understand that there is a supernatural inherent, the supernatural things that are going on in this world. And so Baba Yashabaya, he does the studies on all this. He knows about a lot of the stuff about what all these frequencies and things like that,
Roy,
underlying frequencies. So
yes,
what we're
sir.
gonna
but
be
Roy,
doing.
can I ask you one more thing? Do you think that she ever want to come back and try to get you?
I
Because
got
like
something for her if she do.
I'm just saying, like,
I
I
got
mean,
some.
she
I
looked
got
at
something for
you
her.
and you
I guess
complimented her and you did all that like wooing to her. She probably was like, oh wow.
I guess
And
that's
she
why he went
probably,
back home and he put the refrigerator up to the doors. He thought she
oh
was
yeah,
gonna
I
but
got I got something for her. If she's spiritual, I got something for her. She's flesh and blood, I got something for her. Believe that.
hmm
Most
Believe
right.
that.
definitely, and that's what I was
Because
saying with Baba.
I had so many years to think about it, but I actually became an alcoholic for the next 3 years after my encounter.
Oh,
Oh wow.
You might be trying to find a mate there, Roy. Sizing you up for mate.
Right. I'm not
Yeah,
Yep.
sure
because
if it
it
bites you,
seemed
does it
like that
turn
was your
into one?
soulmate for a
Yeah,
minute there. I thought it
I'll
was your
put it like
soulmate
this.
going on for that. I'm like, oh,
We
I'm
could have
really
went
a
to
werewolf. What if
the
he just turned into a werewolf right now? Like, oh shit. Oh my god.
then I gotta find somewhere to go because
I'd
I
be
done
like,
gave up my
thank God
secret.
he over and he's all the way across the country because he won't come here. I know that
No,
shit.
no, I don't
And
think
I
I'd be
would have
allowed to do that if I was.
hang up on him and he can't catch me. Catch me if you can, buddy.
uh, oh Lord.
Catch
Now,
me
if
if
I
you
had that
can.
ability, I would never do that. That would be breaking a serious rule, according to my research. That'd be breaking a serious rule to expose yourself to the world. So not only would I have to run for my life from human beings, I'd have to run from the other ones too, because
Oh,
I done
Yeah.
gave up
hey, what ain't
the
that this
secret.
all
So
this these rules about? Oh Lord. We gotta bring you
I
up to
just
like talk about the
okay,
rules. We gotta bring you back because
okay,
now we got now I'm intrigued. There's rules to it. Oh my
okay.
god.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
That's
Yes, ma'am.
crazy. Cause it sounds like it's a movie, like it's a series. Like I've seen this before.
Right. You
Mm.
gotta you need to put this into it. Get some actors, write a script down, honey. That
The
That would
script
be
is
a good
done.
one.
The
In
script is
New
done. My
Orleans,
book is
that'll be
done.
good.
oh
But
yeah,
I'm
he
not gonna
does
let
have
them
some
lowball me. They not gonna lowball me. My book been done for 2 years, and the script I finished in November last year, but I'm not gonna get lowballed. So
hey, you
Did
don't
you?
want to be
uh,
on Tubi movie, be a Tubi movie.
no,
hmm
no, it'll come out at the
Shoot,
theaters
Tubi
on
ain't
no
bad.
stream.
Don't be
You're
knocking
right.
Tubi because my mom watch all the Tubi
A lot
movies.
of people
Right.
watch TV.
Yeah, but Tubi don't have ESPN money. They don't have Showtime money. They don't have movie channel money.
But you
They
know what?
two different
Everybody got to
levels.
start somewhere. Everybody got to
Right.
start somewhere. And if you got
So,
to start at Tubi, I would take Tubi money. Bump all that.
all right. So
Okay.
listen, y'all. Look, we're gonna have some final words from everybody before we close this out, and then we're gonna open back up to Baba's thing, principle to DeFi, and he's gonna be talking about possession. And I
Okay.
just put the link into the chat, so if you guys can go get to check out that link and make sure that we're ready to switch over when we start the other show. Uh,
Okay.
so final words. Let's start with Queen Sugar.
Um, thank y'all for having me up. Roy, I believe your story. And Genesis, I'ma holla at you.
Thank you for coming up, and thank you for sharing your story as well. You know,
Thank you, Queen Sugar. Thank you for your
You're
kind words.
welcome. You're welcome. Later,
okay.
y'all.
Bye,
All right.
Queen.
Bye bye.
Vet, what you want to say? Vet.
Betty Fran. This was an experience. It was weird. Baba, enjoyed you. Roy, I enjoyed you. I'll just see y'all the next time. And I'll
Right.
have more
Okay.
questions because I gotta research a lot of this.
Right. We're gonna come
Especially
back.
that down south stuff. I mean, y'all have some stories, man. Y'all got some
Well,
stories.
All right, Baba
well.
Yashaba, do you have something
Y'all
you want
make me to where I'm scared to even come to the jazz festival down there. Like I don't know. I might go off to the second like another road or something and get messed up. Like I'm scared.
Now I just want to thank Roy for him sharing his experience, and we can we can connect because there's a lot of strange things going on in this world, and we don't talk about it. You won't know about it. So Roy, I appreciate you.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, and
Yep.
stay on top of it, man.
Yes, I can. Thank you. Get a chance to talk again because I love knowledge and I know you got a lot more to share. So I really look forward to talking with you again. But thank you so much for verifying the the mystery that is New Orleans and Louisiana. Thank you very
That's
much.
it. That's it.
All right. Thank you guys.
Okay, guys.
Thank you guys. This has been Alchemized Energy, a great show, another great show. We did it again. Thank you guys. Thanks, Roy. Thanks, people in the chat. Shouts out to how do we connect with Baba? Hold on, let me put everybody's information up. Roy, do you have a email, a website, or anything like that you want to share?
Just my group and my YouTube channel is not quite fixed yet for the group, so you can just put my group up there.
Okay, what's the group called?
Cryptid Insights.
How do you spell that?
CRYPTID and Insights.
And is that on Reddit?
No, that's my Facebook group. I don't do stuff on Reddit at all. That's nah.
Okay, let's see.
Okay, cousin. I
All
will
right.
talk to you when you get off the phone, when y'all get out of y'all chat. Thank you.
All right, thanks. See you next time.
See ya. See ya. Bye-bye.